Welcome back to the party, everybody. This is Morty, and I am your host, Lech, aka the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Everybody hit that like and subscribe. You know I would do it for you. And let's party. Big shout out to the replay gang. Thank you so much for coming back to watch this, even though you missed the live party. Guys, that is the best part. So make sure you are here every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and sometimes whenever I feel like it. I was live yesterday. So hit that subscribe, ring the bell, and you will never miss an Indian Jesus live party ever again. If you'd like to support the channel, I did just get my tickets for Dissident Dialogues. You can head over to TheIndianJesus.com to get your very own official merch. Only at TheIndianJesus.com. All right. I'm excited for this one, guys. It's been a while since we have spoken with one of these particular gentlemen. We've actually been covering a lot of the other gentlemen, but today our boy Tucker was on JRE, and I thought we definitely got to cover that. So I obviously a 3-hour long podcast. We're not going to be able to cover it all, but I think I found a good moment to jump in. So let's do it, guys. As always, if you cannot hear the video, please do let me know.
You can't differ from the doctrine. There's a very clear
that's
doctrine.
Just religion, then.
It is.
Yeah,
it is religion.
So I'm very pro-religion, but you can't have a religion that's too stupid and destructive. If your religion winds up hurting a lot of people, then I'm against your religion. Like, that's right.
Yeah, I think, but even some really good religions have aspects of them that you could say were overall detrimental to the people that were
Well, absolutely, you could
encountered with them. Yeah. I think that kind of thinking, I think cult thinking, whether it's Scientology or whether it's Christianity, or there's like a type of thinking, or whether it's woke. Woke is clearly a cult. It's a mind virus.
Yep.
And I think that it's so trite to call it that now. It's like whatever this thing is, this leftism, this Marxist sort of ideology that's waving its flag and indoctrinating people in this country. It's very similar to all kinds of religions. It's very similar to fundamentalist religions that have always existed, in that everybody has to believe very specific things and you can't differ. You can't.
Right to jail. Shout out to Zippy DSM Lee. Yes, sir. I was indeed live yesterday. I think you remember on your other account, right? So yeah, check out the members only stream. Guys, join as a member so that you get all the awesome stuff. Welcome to Dylan Soup in the building. Good to see you. Welcome to the party, guys.
Can't differ from the doctrine. And
here's another way to think about it that I've been meditating on this a lot. Yes, religion, politics, they're all kind of melding. It's hard to know where one ends and another begins.
Right.
So maybe a simpler and more useful way to think about it is truth or falsehood.
Bingo.
Lying or honesty. Maybe just to set.
And so within that, hold on 1 second. Give me 1 second there. So within that idea of truth or not truth, it comes reality. And so we have to ask ourselves, okay, when we talk about God, what is real that we can hang on to? I'm not even going to say that you have to prove this, that, or the other. But when you're saying this is how it is, if you don't know that's how it is, that's a falsehood.
Truth or falsehood, lying or honesty. Maybe just assess everything that way. Is someone lying?
Right.
I don't care what your justification for it is. Lying about vaccines. They've lied a lot about vaccines. And they've done it, I think, in most cases because they feel like they're serving some greater good.
Right. Like that's the narrative, right?
We can't tell people that there are vaccine injuries because they won't get vaccines, which are good for a big population. I understand the thinking. But how about this? You can't participate in lying.
Yeah.
You can't lie.
You can't lie. And you can't.
Period, though. You can't lie about anything. Just don't lie about anything. Try to tell the truth all the time. If you can't say something that's true, just don't say it.
Right.
You're not required to say everything you think, obviously, and you shouldn't say everything you think.
Hear that, Zoomers? You don't, in fact, have to say everything that you think.
But you should never lie. And if you just stick with that, like, you get pretty quickly back to reason and order, don't you?
Yeah. No, you're making complete sense. And I think that this is the problem when people have information and power above other people.
Well, right. That's
right.
For sure.
Which is the problem of governments, which is also the problem of cult leaders.
Yeah.
You know, cult leaders, they get completely infatuated with this idea of being omnipotent and this power that has control over giant swaths of people, and you get to dictate their behavior and you get to tell them what to think. That's very intoxicating, and it's common. It's common in that it's always existed throughout human history. It's a thing that people do when they get power. They abuse the shit out of it. And if they think that you're too stupid to know the truth and that they're better than you, because they do think they're better than you because they're running things.
And again, we come back to this idea of supremacy, that if you believe in the right thing, that you are a better person because of what you believe, not the fact that you believe better ideas and so you behave as a better person. The mere fact that you hold these beliefs makes you a better person. I don't like it.
Too stupid to know the truth and that they're better than you because they do think they're better than you because they're running things. It's a natural inclination. It's a natural thought that people have. If they're the ones, if you guys are a bunch of dopes that are just listening to my orders and I tell you how to live your life and what to do, I'm naturally going to think I'm better than you.
Well, people have lived under those systems since there have been systems, but
always.
What makes it particularly galling and hard to live with is when you call that system a democracy.
Right.
That's too dishonest.
Democracy.
I would much rather live in a monarchy where everyone thinks the king has been assigned by God to rule over us and his whims are law. And, that makes sense.
He took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say, at least that makes sense internally. If you are going to operate that way, it does make sense, but it's not ideal for us. But Zibby says deception leads to coercion, leads to assault and theft. Deception is a crime we refuse to criminalize. I mean, I don't know about criminalizing dishonesty. I think that there definitely should be social effects from lying and being somebody who says falsehoods, but I don't trust the government to decide what's true and not.
I don't like it, but at least it has internal coherence.
Right.
When they stand up and pass a $60 billion funding bill for Ukraine, when 70% of the population doesn't want it, when they're ignoring the actual problems in our country, like the economy and the border, and they're calling in Congress over the weekend to pass something that people don't want, while ignoring the things that people do want. And if they do the same kind of thing again and again for like 50 years and they call it a democracy, that will drive you insane.
Yeah.
Because it's just too dishonest. Why not just say, we don't give a shit what you want. We are getting something out of this Ukraine funding, whether it's like the thrill of being masters of the universe or whether it's money from the defense contractors, whatever we're getting out of it.
I wonder, obviously they're not going to do that, but I wonder how different it would be. Just like the general approval ratings. If they were like, yeah, we're screwing you over, but this is what it is. It would definitely be not ideal, but it's not ideal now. So it does beg the question, which one's worse? Zippy says deception is an easy crime to deal with. Just show monetary damage. Sure. I mean, well, yeah, but now we're talking about like defamation or something that's already covered under the law. But if we're talking about just being like arrested or having to pay a fine or something because you said something that wasn't true, I don't like that. Because then again, back when in lockdown and everything, if you were to say it came from a lab, then right to jail. So scary. I'm not with that.
It's like the thrill of being masters of the universe or whether it's money from the defense contractors, whatever we're getting out of it is more important to us than your opinion. This is not self-government. You don't run this country. We do. Shut up and obey. If they at least said that, you'd be like, okay, I get it. Those are the terms.
Oh, I thought he was talking about like us. But exactly, yeah. At least if they were upfront about it, then we'd be like, fuck, all right, this is what we got to deal with. Oh, okay, we're past the 7 minutes. I already got it. But yeah, at least we know what we got to deal with.
But if I get another fucking lecture from Joe Scarborough about defending democracy, when this is not a democracy, it's not even a close approximation of a democracy, then I'm going to go crazy because I just can't deal with the lying.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does.
Cook, brother, cook. Hell yeah.
It does make sense. What's interesting is that there are people saying that now. And I think that's a relatively new thing in terms of mainstream media. And I consider what you do on X mainstream media. I mean, this is what we're on right now is essentially mainstream media.
And that is an interesting point, because between whether it's YouTube or Spotify or X or any of these things, these are the major platforms. And so when we say mainstream media, we're typically talking about legacy media, but that lexicon is shifting.
It used to be, you could call it, there's corporate controlled media.
I agree.
And that used to be mainstream media. Mainstream media used to be CNN.
Yeah. So that I think legacy media, because legacy media also includes, print and like online articles. I would put that in the same category of what we're talking about when we say mainstream media, even though I agree that Joe Rogan is almost as mainstream as it gets.
It's not really anymore. The mainstream media is what, in terms of the volume consumed, more people are consuming things on Twitter, on X, than there are on anything else. They're consuming information through the internet, through YouTube, for good or for bad, whether it's correct or incorrect. They're consuming information in different forms now than ever before. So more people are saying what you're saying than have ever said it before. And when people lie, and when people bullshit and gaslight, it's more offensive now than it's ever been before, because there's so much access to truth that it's just, you could see it now. If you're,
that's a good point too. It's the expectation that you're too dumb or lazy to actually find out what the truth is, when it's so easy. Definitely not criminal, but civil wise, just look at the market damage the politicians and businessmen are doing while claiming they are making things better. Again, I agree with you, but it's the politicians who would be the ones deciding what that line is. And so again, I'm with you in principle, but then when they determine that everything that is true is not true, then you're paying civil damages for speaking the truth because the government doesn't like it. No, thank you.
It's ever been before, because there's so much access to truth that it's just, you could see it now. If you're paying attention, if you're not a boomer who only reads the newspaper, you pay attention and you see it and you go, this is horse shit.
But it's like, I guess what bothers me is that the lies aren't sophisticated.
No.
I mean, I look back over my now sort of long
Bro, OJ just died. All right? Don't talk to me about juries.
life, and I'm recognizing all the times that I was lied to, but
I'm not willing to take a coin flip with whether or not people are allowed to speak. Nope.
I didn't know I was being lied to. They kind of pulled it off.
Mm-hmm.
There's something incredibly insulting and demeaning to tell me a lie when I know it's a lie, and I know it's a lie. We both know it's a lie, but you're demanding that I pretend to believe it?
Right.
It's like with all this economic stuff. It's like, no. The prices of gas and eggs and all these groceries, they're down. They're actually down. You just don't understand math.
Right.
What you're really saying is, I have no respect for you. You're like my dog.
Right.
You're a slave. Like, I'm demanding that you participate in my lie.
Right.
The lack of stealth, really, I'm not explaining it very well, but that really.
No, I think he is explaining it very well. And this idea that you are expecting me to participate in the lie. This is, again, a problem that we see all over the place. This is exactly what we talk about with the transes. And really quick, I forgot to say that if you do not know how YouTube works, the full unedited, no commentary is linked in the description. Please do not comment and tell me that I talk too much. I know, that's why I started a YouTube channel.
Really bothers me.
Well, there's
lot.
no real other way to lie. You like some of these lies, like politicians. Like, did you see that conversation that AOC had with that man they brought in for the Biden case, and they were talking about what crimes, and she was like grilling this guy. What crimes did you see Joe Biden? Did he steal anything? Did he steal bread? Like, I forget what she said, and he was
source. Were you there? Did a doctor say that it happened? Then it didn't happen.
Trying to explain what they were, RICO crimes, and she was saying RICO is not a crime.
I saw
it's
this.
a category of crime. Like, okay, all right. But it's like,
tell that to the Genovese family.
Not only that, it's just so dumb to say that publicly, like, and say it with confidence, and to tell a person.
That's the thing. The marriage of ineptitude and high self-esteem is It's really the
funny.
marker of our time. It's
Mhm.
like, I have nothing against dumb people at all. My dogs are dumb, and I love my dogs. No, I'm serious. I don't think
My dad always says, you can't be wrong and strong. And that's just become the standard, the standard way to interact, is that I'm going to be wrong. I have no intention on seeing if I'm right, but I'm going hard.
God cares about your intelligence, right? Only people care. And so it's not a moral category, and stupidity is not someone with Down syndrome, I really believe are better people than I am, more likely to go to heaven. So I'm not attacking her for being dumb, but the idea that a dumb person has the White House press secretary is in the same category, who has no idea she's dumb. She really thinks like she won the prize, like she's the most impressive, like I'm White House press secretary because I'm the best talker in America.
Is that why? I'm pretty sure it was. They said openly that we're gonna pick, LGBT black woman, right?
So crazy, and yet the smartest people I know are very often like, sort of, they have humility.
Well, also she's following Kayleigh McEnany. Is that how you say her name?
I don't really know who that is.
She was the last White House press secretary.
No, and
you don't know who that is?
How do you not know who that is?
She's the GOAT.
I sort of do.
She's the GOAT. Greatest White House.
You guys know who we're talking about, right? Trump's press secretary. Let's get a little Kayleigh. Best moments. There we go. Let's do that.
What attracted the father of the Orlando terrorist to your candidate?
He's a mentally ill individual who ran for president.
I get it.
Pardon me?
What attracted him to your candidate? And your answer was he's mentally ill.
The question that we're asking you and would like to have asked the president, is it safe?
Jeff, it is safe to reopen your churches if you do so in accordance with the guidelines. So I am thankful that we have a president that celebrates the First Amendment, which is to pray to your God and to practice your faith.
And why won't you wear a mask? Is it sort of a personal political statement? Is it because the president would be disappointed in you if you don't wear a mask?
It's a personal decision. I'm tested regularly. I'm in compliance with CDC guidelines, which are recommended but not required.
All right, so this isn't really given exactly what I was looking for, but she had the binder, and she'd be like, somebody would ask a question, and she'd be like, oh, actually, last week you said this, and just, oh my God, she was so good. Shout out to CBS. Christ brings a sword. Welcome to the party. Is that real? She's JFK's granddaughter. Interesting.
House press secretary of all time. She's the best.
I had stopped paying close attention by that point.
She had all the documents. She would kill them.
That's a little odd though, because he was still at Fox, and the fact that you could be the lead anchor at Fox News and not know who the press secretary is and just be checked out. It's not like he wasn't talking about her. He was reading off a teleprompter, but that just goes to show you how the legacy media is a very different thing.
I had stopped paying close attention by that point.
She had all the documents. She would kill them. Whenever she would get called out, like whenever there'd be a question, she'd say, that's interesting. And then she'd open because you said this, and your paper said that, and CNN said this, and she would call them out on stuff. And she was just really, really well prepared.
I love that.
Very articulate. She was wonderful.
Well, good
at the
for
job.
her. That's what it should be.
But she was operating under President Trump, so obviously she's demonized.
It's just,
I kind of can't believe you don't know who that is.
No, I know who it is, but it's just funny.
She's the GOAT.
Well, I had stopped watching all briefings by then. I used to go to the
they're
briefings as a kid. I literally would go there, be in the briefing room, the former Kennedy swimming pool. And the first thing I was never a White House reporter, but was a reporter. So I would go to them.
I wonder if those press briefings that we see, I wonder if there was ever a time when it was like a real thing. And like the press was actually asking hard questions and holding their feet to the fire. I mean, maybe in some of your lifetimes it was, but I've never seen that. It's always just been theater.
Occasionally. And the first thing you notice is how impressed all the correspondents are to work there. I work at the White House. Work at the White House. Got my hard pass. And then the distance between that little credential they were so proud of and the reality of their lives was like insane. Like they're in this tiny little room. They're being treated with total contempt by the White House staff, who thinks they're just fucking animals. It's like, shut up. They're eating out of vending machines. And this was a different time, right? So
Mhm.
like when I was working as a journalist in Washington, like we went out to lunch every day at like a good restaurant and charge it to the company. And like with your sources, we're like, we had lunch every single day, like civilized people. I don't even think that exists in the world anymore, where you had time for lunch, where you weren't just so under the gun from your corporate masters. You had to like get back to work.
Right.
We ate lunch. And I remember thinking, these people don't eat lunch. They eat like a stale
Wow.
Mounds bar out of a vending machine. Like they bring quarters to work so they can eat. I remember thinking, your life like is you're not even human. You're just like a little puppet or something. And
Oh my
but you're so
God.
impressed, and like all your neighbors know. He works at the White House. He's in the White House press corps. And the job like wasn't even really a job. You would just like sit there and ask your question. Your little assigned seat, like you're in a high school gym.
Your assigned seat and your assigned question.
It was just awful, and I just had no respect for people who did that for a living at all.
Did
Not
you ever
me.
read Fear and Loathing on the Campaign Trail?
Come on,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, it's amazing.
it's amazing.
But that guy gave sort of that's, I think, probably the best window into an outsider in the political process, at least in terms of the campaign trail.
Yeah.
It's the best window to the press, the best window to the relationships that they had with the politicians.
Is he talking about a book called Fear and Loathing on the Campaign Trail? Fear and Loathing on the Campaign Trail. Okay. Summary. Let's see. All right. So Fear and Loathing on the Campaign Trail. It's a 1973 book that recounts the analysis of 72 presidential campaign where Nixon was reelected, written by Hunter S. Thompson, who focuses exclusively on the Democratic Party's primaries and the breakdown of the party as it splits between the different candidates, such as Ed Muskie and Hubert Humphrey. Of particular focus is the manic maneuvering George McGovern's campaign in Miami Convention. Interesting.
At least in the 1970s. It's an amazing book.
I was talking to a campaign reporter. I never
That's on purpose.
do that anymore, but I was this week actually, and he was telling me it's like totally different. Like when I did it, you were all on I mean, it was bad actually. It was because it just cultivated groupthink.
Did I get this one? As we said, I suppose we want to I suppose if you want to go after the nobles, get rid of qualified immunity, just have those in positions of power, follow the Constitution, not what they think the law says you can do. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm with you. I do see the purpose behind qualified immunity. I just think it is abused, and it's good in theory, but in practice, I don't like it.
I was this week actually, and he was telling me it's like totally different. Like when I did it, you were all on I mean, it was bad actually. It was because it just cultivated groupthink, which was then leveraged by the candidate for better coverage. Like the whole thing was kind of an op actually, but it was at least fun. Like you were on a charter plane and like you're flying with everybody and you hit
Doing a bunch of coke.
3 or 4 cities a day, and like there are cocktails on the plane and naughty behavior and like fed you, and they kind of dealt with everything for you. It was fun. It was like a road trip, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now it's just like grim. They're all driving alone in their little rental cars to some obscure town in Iowa to sit there with no access whatsoever to the candidate, write up their little reports, and then they get back to their hotel and they're like writing up more for the website. And like, it's just it's such a bad job actually covering politics that only the people who couldn't make
this is exactly what I was going to say.
it in any other business are doing it. It's it's like a reverse meritocracy.
Yeah, that's exactly where I was going with that. Is that if you are enjoying the process, then you're going to care more about what comes out of that process. If you hate the process and it's just a job, and any kind of benefit that Tucker was just talking about is gone, well, it makes a lot of sense that these people not only don't care, but are willing to forego any type of value system to get the job done.
Only the most kind of pathetic power worshipers would ever do a job like that. And,
Well, like critics.
Yes, that's exactly
Most
right.
critics want to be writers.
They're like the worst people. Just as people, like, well, you've actually been in show business, so you've got a better experience with them, or you have
So have you, Tucker. So have you.
a lot of experience with them. But I've known a lot of them who worked for magazines or newspapers
Yeah,
that I
did
worked
too.
for. And they're the kind of people who have a lot of cats and all the cats hate them. You know what I mean?
Got him.
They're just like the lowest. They all have some like sort of weird like wandering eye, and they're fat, and they're like super into porn, and totally isolated
Oh
from
my
everybody.
God.
Actually,
Tucker's going in. He says we do not need QI. What's QI? QI. We don't need QI anymore. Same for common law. Why did we have common law? It took qualified immunity. Duh. It took days and weeks for information to move across the nation. Lacking information, it made understanding the Constitution harder. I'm not sure how that connects to. I'm not sure what you're saying here.
super into porn and totally isolated from everybody. I actually worked for one of them for a while, who was a critic for the New York Post, a guy called John Podhartz, and he was one of the weirdest, most unhappy people I've ever met in my life. And he would come into my office occasionally, and he would he had a really hairy back, and he would rub it against the door frame, and like say these kind of obscure. He was stupid, but he didn't know that he was. I mean, he was actually kind of dumb, but he didn't know it, and he would kind of philosophize. I was like 10 years younger, and I was his captive, so he would just like lecture me as he was rubbing against the door frame. And one time we went out to lunch, and we all had drinks. Of course, this is like mid-90s. He didn't really drink, but he ordered this drink with like an umbrella, and it had a piece of watermelon on the rim of the glass. And he took the watermelon and ate it, and then he ate the rind. I'll never forget that, watching him eat the rind.
I did not expect that. Shout out to Indie Film. Welcome to the party. Indeed, it is Friday night. Really? Did he recently do that? Oh, I hope they talk about that. They have to talk about that.
I'm thinking, of course, this guy's a critic.
I think I heard. I'm trying to think if I knew this. I feel like I heard that he did like some microdosing with shrooms, but let's hope they talk about it.
This is true love. He was editing this magazine, but like his real interest was in writing about movies, and they're just sad people who.
Did you ever read, Siskel and Ebert? Did you ever read when Roger Ebert wrote a screenplay?
No.
It's very bizarre. It's really sexual, very strange. It's supposed to be terrible.
Of course,
I've read passages in it, but
it's terrible.
But I remember going, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, they're not creative. They're creative adjacent.
Well, they don't have anything to contribute.
That's what I'm saying. They don't have creative power, right?
Yeah.
So they're mad
probably,
about that.
They probably could figure it out if they had a different mindset. I think creativity is in everybody.
That's a good point too, but I think these are just the bottom feeders who don't have the skill that they just, again, scrape in the bottom of the barrel.
Just a matter of how
100% it's in everybody. It just requires honesty.
Yeah.
The impediment to creativity is lying.
Sure. And I used to say that about joke thieves. That one of the real problems with joke thieves is when they get caught and then they have to write their own material. And the problem is they don't understand the language. They just know how to say the sounds. Like if you told me what to say in French, I can't speak French, but if you told me what to say and I practice it and I said it right, you would think, wow, that guy fucking speaks French.
Yes.
That's really interesting. That brings up slight aside, but it brings up a thought experiment about consciousness and like, how do we know, like with computers, the Turing test, and basically the thought experiment is if you were in a room that had no, it's just four walls and then the ceiling. You're locked in the room. There's no windows. There's no nothing. And all you have is a guide of how to communicate in written language in Chinese. And so somebody can send you a message. You have a printer or whatever, and it prints out a message in Chinese. And you don't know what that means, but you can take that and go to this guide, and it will tell you how to essentially act like ChatGPT. And the people on the outside wouldn't be able to tell the difference between speaking to another person who speaks Chinese and you with just your guide. And so that's kind of the same thing, where it's like you're not speaking Chinese, or Joe is saying you're not speaking French. You're just mimicking sounds, and that happen to sound like what we're talking about.
But if you told me what to say and I practice it and I said it right, you'd think, wow, that guy fucking speaks French.
Yes.
So that's what comedy's like. So if you got a guy who knows how to repeat other people's jokes, but he doesn't know how to create them. See, comedy's one of the rare things where someone, like you get a guy like
So a lot of
Shane
people.
Gillis.
So a lot of people.
That guy writes his own stuff. He edits it, he thinks it out in his head, he performs it, he produces it, he changes the order of things.
I love that.
It's a complete, everybody does it pretty much the same way. There's a few guys that hire writers, and that's honorable. There's nothing wrong with hiring a writer. And it's also, it gives jobs to other comics, because some comics are just really good writers and they're not so good at performing. And so people will work on stuff, they'll collaborate on stuff. Like Chris Rock would do this thing where he would hire comics, and they didn't write the jokes for him, but they would be like guys he would bounce stuff off. So he would have his ideas, he would go on stage, and then after his set, they would all meet and they would talk about the set. And, you know, guys would have taglines like, you could say this. Oh, great. And they write that down. They're adding. So it's a collaboration. So you have the master, you have Chris Rock, who is so open-minded and intelligent and humble that he brings in other masters and says, tell me what I'm doing wrong. Tell me what I could change. Tell me what I can make better.
Good for
and
him.
Humility. Qualified immunity is a way to limit the damage to the system by fast and dirty laws. That's my train of thought, to only have constitutional law or get rid of qualified immunity. There's no reason for the system to make illegal laws anymore. Makes sense. Makes sense to me.
They work together. And then there's people that are essentially ghostwriters. They hire comics to write jokes for them, and they pretend they're theirs, and they don't really write them at all. So that's another level, which is also
Does
honorable.
anyone who does that get successful?
I don't know.
That's a good question. Because if you're a comic and you're trying to make it, and it's like, oh, I can punch up my comedy by getting writers, but as Joe was saying before with like straight up joke thieves, if you don't do the thing and learn how to be a comic, how far can you really take that? But I mean, Carlos Mencia got his own show on Comedy Central, so apparently pretty far.
I don't know. Not top shelf. They get close. They do well. There's people that have people write for them and they do well, but they're not the guy that everybody goes to. They're not Dave Attell. They're not the guy that everybody goes to see. They're not like Dave Attell's the guy that comics go to see when he's in town.
Yes.
Like he's a master. You watch him. He's Yoda. You're like, Jesus Christ. Like, how is he so good? Well,
I gotta say, I definitely would have to see Dave Attell live before I solidify this opinion, but I feel like Attell is so overrated. I think he's funny. I think he's hilarious, but I just don't see. I don't know. Maybe it's affected by, that time period where everybody tried to be Dave Attell, and maybe it just got like oversaturated. And again, I've never seen him live, but I don't know. What do you guys think about Dave Attell?
He's so good because he writes every day, because he's sitting with fucking a pack of cigarettes and a cup of coffee every morning, writing things in a notebook, and he's practicing every day. He goes on stage constantly, and it's that Japanese term kaizen, where you take this one thing and you just refine it to its ultimate mastery. That's what he's doing. So these guys who
Kaizen, never heard of that before. Kaizen,
pretend to be that and steal jokes, and then they get caught, then their material drops off a cliff. It's so obvious
because they're frauds. Yeah,
also because the very thing that allows you to steal someone's jokes, that's an ego thing. That's I want the laughs. I want to be the man or the woman. I want to be the fucking one up there showing everybody, look how amazing this person is.
That's right.
Look how amazing.
You forgot about the they thems.
That's the opposite mindset that's required for creativity. So creativity is not about you. Creativity is about the ideas. Creativity is about things. Creativity is about, how does this concept work with these other concepts? How do I?
And all of those things, yes, but the direct line that he is really talking about, it goes back to what they started talking about with truth versus falsehood. If you're looking for the shortcut as to what's going to get you the adulation, as opposed to finding what's actually funny about what you're saying, then it's not gonna measure up. It's always gonna be a simulacrum of what you actually want.
how do I get it in the most digestible form? If I was an audience member, what would it be like to feel this? What's the best way to introduce it? What's the way to make it so that people don't think that I'm being mean, that I have a point, or that I've thought this through? This is not just a flippant thing. Like, you're allowing someone, when someone's on stage, you're allowing that person almost to think for you. Like, you're like, take me on a ride. Like, I'll give you my mind. I'm not gonna be thinking what I would do. I'm just gonna let you think for me. If that person's not doing a good job of that, if it's clunky, if it's shitty, if the transitions suck, then it just interrupts this hypnotism that you put on me.
That's an interesting way to put it. I have heard him speak about that before, but I kind of resonate with that. As in, kind of doing my own show here. That I'm trying to, get you to be immersed in this frame and not anything outside of it. Interesting point. Seabass said Dave Attell is like Red Fox, who are just naturally funny and gifted and rebellious and irreverent. Yeah, I absolutely enjoy Dave Attell, but I just don't see what it is about him that so many other comics and as well as people just put him over the top. He says they thems went to the main VOD and now are refined into Soylent Green.
This hypnosis, now I'm not.
But it's
letting you think
also
for me.
Inherently fraudulent.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I'm giving control of my mind over to someone who is himself under the control of somebody else. Do you know what I mean?
Even if you're stealing.
No.
No, not so. So he said somebody else. So he's saying I'm giving up my mind to somebody else who's given up their mind to someone else. What he should have said is something else. So if I'm watching a comedian, I'm giving my what was the phrasing that he used?
Who's himself.
Yeah, so I'm giving control over my mind to the comedian, and the comedian's mind is being taken over by the reaction from the crowd, including me. And so it's a feedback loop where it's working together. And again, if he's always doing the hungry dance. It's hard to I forgot what I was going to say. Now, let's play it to see if I can
under the control of somebody else. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah. So I was just clearing that up. Maybe he'll.
No, if I'm in the audience,
right?
Come on, Mort.
And I would say this also goes for ideas, for commentary. That's not funny, but that's real,
right?
And you see it a lot. I've seen it a lot.
Yeah, you see bullshit a lot.
Well, the number of people who are totally not controlled, who are really saying what they actually believe with no weird agenda that they're not telling you about is pretty small.
Yeah.
I'd agree, because I definitely have an agenda. I'm telling you about my agenda, but I definitely have an agenda.
Oh.
And I just have noticed that a lot recently, particularly on the question of wokeness and free speech. There are a lot of people who are...
Shout out to Ben Shapiro. Who thinks that was a straight shot at Ben?
Recently, particularly on the question of wokeness and free speech, there are a lot of people who are like on your side because they're for free speech, who are not actually for free speech at all.
Bro, he's talking about Ben.
Who are pushing, a very specific foreign policy agenda, for example.
Bro.
And using another issue to lower your defenses and let themselves into your brain. And I think that's really sinister. Really, really, really sinister. And it's becoming more obvious now. Like, if you're for free speech, then you're just for free speech because you support the principle. It doesn't, the content of the speech is
right. Free speech is for the speech that you don't like. And yeah, Zippy, exactly. There's a cadence to comedy where you get into a rhythm where everything is working together if you make your own jokes. If not, there's too much pausing and broken rhythms. And so again, to make it about me, the reason I've started saying that, if you want to see this without the commentary, that's linked in the description, is because I was getting a lot of comments of people saying, oh, you paused the video too much. And it's like, the video is just there to give me something to talk about. If you're not interested in what I have to say, that's fine. But it's not that I'm the video is not, the video is not the purpose of this. What I have to say is the purpose of this. And so if you're coming here looking for just this video, then obviously, there's too much pausing and broken rhythms. But if you're here to have this conversation, It works.
For free speech, then you're just for free speech because you support the principle. It doesn't. The content
Right.
of the speech is not that interesting to you. The fact that a sovereign human being has the right to express himself because he's not a slave, he's a citizen and a human being. Like that's what matters.
Yeah.
And if all of a sudden you like become famous, like I'm for free speech, and then you support silencing people who articulate opinions you disagree with, like you're a fraud. You're kind of a sinister fraud.
Yeah.
A sinister fraud. Again, does anybody think that he's not maybe not specifically talking about Ben, but is definitely including him in this group?
Yeah.
And because that's the business I'm in. I've really noticed that. Have you noticed this?
Yes. And that's also the same kind of thing when you hear them talk. If you hear someone talk that's saying something that's kind of horseshit, it resonates with you. That's what you've seen.
You had a
horseshit
moment
before.
with Barry Weiss on your show that went everywhere. I saw a clip of it. I never saw the show itself, but she was going on about. So she was posing as one thing, and then you pressed her. You're like, "Well, hold on a second. What do you mean by that?"
Shout out to John from Ann Arbor. Welcome to the party, brother. Very, very good to see ya.
On about. So she was.
Is he talking? Is he talking about the? I don't know if it was the lady that he said, because there was somebody. I remember. I forget who it was, but there was somebody who was, they were talking about like Syria and Assad, and Rogan brought somebody up, and the girl who was some journalist, she's like, oh, he's a total tanky, or he's a total toady, and Joe's just like, what's a toady? And he's like, and she was like, well, I mean, I think it's like, Jamie, can you look it up? And it's just like so you're just saying that because you heard somebody else say that. And you don't even know what it means, and you're comfortable not just repeating it, not just thinking it, but saying it on the Joe Rogan Experience. Sinister.
I saw a clip of it. I never saw the show.
Yes, I don't know if it was Barry Weiss,
but she was going on about. So she was posing as one thing, and then you pressed her. You're like, "Well, hold on a second. What do you mean by that?" You just attacked somebody, and she had no idea what she was talking about. And it became really clear to me watching it. I completely changed my view of Barry Weiss forever. I was like, oh, she's a fraud, actually. This person's not honest at all. Like, she has a very specific agenda. That's all she cares about. The rest of the stuff is just a kind of sleight of hand maneuver.
You're talking about the thing with Tulsi Gabbard?
That's correct.
Yeah, she called her a toady.
Yes.
Didn't know what that meant.
I called it. That wasn't Barry Weiss, was it? Well, I do want to find that just for my own edification. Joe Rogan, what's a toady? Yeah. Oh, it is. Oh, okay. It was Barry Weiss. So this is what they're talking about. Oh yeah, we're not doing anything wrong with that. Give me 1 second here. Jesus.
What do you think happens with him?
I don't know who can beat him. I don't know who can beat him. Who do you think can beat him?
That's a good question. I don't know. Hillary can't. I'm so worried.
Duh.
I think they're talking about Bernie.
Yeah, but I'm so worried she's going to run again. She's going to muscle her way to the top.
I don't know who can beat him right now. I don't know.
Why do you think that?
Right, and the question, right, is
as
like
things keep going further and further south. What about someone who's a centrist Democrat? Doesn't that make more sense? That someone who's a rational person who's on the right, who's gonna look at this person who's maybe economically conservative but socially liberal and say this is really
unless they run someone on the far left and like on an identity politics platform. That's what scares me.
Yeah, that's not gonna work.
Well, could it though? Because
I don't think so.
I don't know, because Trump's whole thing was screw the center. I just need to make my base go.
I think there's a lot of people in the center be like, well, I'm just going to vote libertarian, man. I'm going to vote for Gary Johnson or some shit.
But okay, so who's in right now? So we have Kamala, Kirsten Gillibrand. Oh, monstrous. Ideas.
Well, when she was 22, she had.
No, she's an Assad toady.
What does that mean?
She is
a toady.
So they're talking about Kirsten Gillibrand. Gillibrand or Gillibrand?
No, she's an Ideas.
Well, when she was 22, she had.
No, she's an Assad toady.
What does that mean?
So apparently, again, she heard something about how Kirsten Gillibrand supports Assad or something, and just said that. It's, she's not even an option because she's a toady.
I mean,
she is
what's a toady?
I think that I used that word correctly. Jamie, can you check what toady means?
Like towing the line? Is that what it means?
No, I think it's like a
Stupid.
TOADIE.
What does that mean?
I think it means what I think it means.
What do you think it means?
Toady. Definition of toadies. A person who
sycophant,
flatters or defers to others
I
for
kind of used it right.
self-serving reasons.
A sycophant.
So she's an Assad.
So you happen to use it right, but you didn't know what you were even saying. You didn't even know what you were saying. Crazy.
You're talking about the thing with Tulsi Gabbard?
That's correct.
Yeah, she called her a toady and she didn't know what that meant.
Well, but she had no idea. Like Tulsi Gabbard had straight outside the lines on some Syria or something. And Barry Weiss was, going through the files in her head, like, what does she have to believe? And she was aware that, Tulsi Gabbard had somehow violated that in a way that no one's willing to say in detail to fully articulate. What did Tulsi Gabbard do wrong? No one will tell you. She's just bad.
Yep.
And then what that revealed about Barry Weiss is she's completely dishonest. Like, she's a liar, actually. You can't, by the way, if you attack somebody, particularly personally.
Before it goes into that, there again reminds me of when Peter Boghossian was on, and what we were talking about how when it comes to certain questions, when they do the street epistemology, that it's very clear that he'll ask the question and then people are stuck. It's a simple question, an easy question. And this is the thing where, we have a prompt and you start on neutral. It could be slightly agree or disagree, strongly agree or disagree. And people will get stuck not going to the position that they have. They struggle because they think that they have to go to the position that they're supposed to go to. Same thing. But at least if you're just a normal schmuck, then whatever. You have the right to be stupid. But if you're a journalist and that's how you're behaving, that's how you're disseminating news, and that's how you're going on Joe Rogan and talking about a presidential candidate, like, come on, again, just dishonest. Not, the worst thing in the world, but really showed your true colors. Shout out to Nick Luchetti in the building. Welcome to the party. Good to see you, brother.
Like, she's a liar, actually. You can't, by the way, if you attack somebody, particularly personally, and can't explain why you're attacking the person, like, that's not acceptable. You're a dishonest person if you can't explain why.
I think it's a common thing that people do in private, and they get accustomed to speak. Like, we're talking like we're talking in private. We're just two people talking.
Right.
So people get accustomed to saying things without being able to back them up. Like, oh, he's a vaccine denier.
Well, I've done a ton of that in my life.
Yeah, I have as well.
Because I'm an asshole. So it's like, I just don't like that person. Okay.
I have as well. But what I'm saying is, I don't know how much time Barry Weiss had spent doing podcasts before that.
Well, she'd spent, look, I'm just saying, like,
but I think
it's important to be honest about what your agenda is.
I think she is honest. And I really like her.
Yeah.
I like talking
I'm not
to her.
against,
She's a very intelligent
not
person.
Against her personally.
I just think that was a mistake.
Hungry dance.
And I think you're allowed to do that and hopefully learn from that. And don't do that anymore. Don't say a thing that and I've done that. Definitely done that. I've said a thing and I wasn't really exactly sure what I was talking about.
Gosh, I do that every day. Yeah. And I may have just done it with Barry Weiss. So let me be a lot more specific about what I mean. If your agenda is neocon politics, which is her agenda, just say so. Don't pretend to be a defender of free speech as a principle, which is what she does.
How is she a defender of neocon politics?
Barry Weiss?
Yeah, like what specifically?
Well, anyone, including me and Tulsi Gabbard, who thinks that America shouldn't be funding wars that don't help America, she will attack as a traitor to America or whatever it takes.
How dare you?
And so, no, that's her main interest, which is fine. And by the way, I actually have friends who
So she's a war hawk. She's a war hawk. And that's why I forget who it was or what the context was. We were talking about, like, what does neocon and what do these things mean? That's what when I don't really use that phrasing that often, but if I hear it, I think about somebody who is in the in the GOP, specifically fostering the military-industrial complex.
I disagree with really strongly on this question. Who believe in neocon politics doesn't mean they're terrible people or I hate them or I'm not friends. I'm still friends with them, but they're very direct about it. This is what I care about. Okay, fine. I really care about bird hunting and fly fishing or whatever. I can, and you don't. That's totally cool. but be honest about it. So if your job is to defend the right of free people to say what they really believe, then go ahead and defend it. And if somebody is not allowed to speak or fired from his job for having an opinion that you disagree with, defend him anyway.
Exactly. Principles. Defend him anyway. It's not about what you disagree with, because the principle stands. Shout out to Guam Tech. Welcome to the party. Good to see ya. Zippy said there are no wars that help America. Bring the troops home. Hell yeah. There are no wars that help America. None. Zero. I mean, unless somebody is aiming a nuke right at our homeland, we shouldn't be doing anything.
I just interviewed a guy who is a black nationalist socialist. Okay, so I'm obviously not much of a black nationalist. I don't know if you're aware of that, but I'm not. And I'm not a socialist either. But this guy is facing prison time under the Biden DOJ because he said things they don't like about foreign policy. And I just interviewed the guy for an hour, and it was like, because on principle, you should be able to say what you think.
On what? On what? On principle. And that's the difference between so many that you see on the right and left. And it is certainly a problem on both sides. It is certainly a problem on both sides. There are a lot of people on the right who, like we were just talking about Ben Shapiro, who stand for these issues. But when the rubber meets the road and you have to stand on your principle in a way that doesn't benefit you, then you fold. And it's sad, but you do absolutely see it on the left in droves. Way more. Maybe that's just because of what the landscape looks like, because I certainly am not here riding for the Republican Party. But at least right now, we definitely see a lot more of that on the left. That, you know, you have a principle, or you have a principle until it doesn't help you. Guys, if you do me a huge favor and hit that like button, it is free, takes 2 seconds, and helps out the channel so much. Thank you.
Period.
What is this gentleman's name?
He was actually it turns out I loved him. And I'm embarrassed I can't. He's a member of a pretty small black nationalist socialist group. It's like the Revolutionary Black Nationalists or something like that. They're out of Southwest Florida. And he's literally facing prison for repeating Russian disinformation. He's not even accused of doing anything. He's accused of saying things the Biden DOJ doesn't like. Well,
what were these things that he said?
Repeating Russian propaganda
about
the invasion of Ukraine. And his point was, well, there's a backstory here, which is that NATO has been moving eastward since 1991. Mm-hmm. And that's a massive threat to Russia. Missiles on their border from a hostile power is a threat. And the Biden administration accelerated that, and in response, Putin invaded eastern Ukraine. Now,
it's crazy how somebody repeating rhetoric or propaganda, whatever, can be arrested. Tucker sat down with Putin. Rules for thee, but not for me.
Can disagree with that, but that's hardly a crackpot view, by the way. I think that's actually true, but even if you don't agree that it's true, you don't have to be a paid propagandist from the Kremlin to say that.
Right.
I have said it. I'm not a paid propagandist.
Is this a gentleman?
That's him right there.
4 Americans from a black empowerment organization work with Russian intelligence to spread propaganda, feds say.
Damn.
To spread propaganda. Now, propaganda, first of all,
is not illegal. But even if we hate Russian propaganda, it's not illegal.
A lot of propaganda.
Scroll up a little on that, Jamie, so I can read what this is saying. It's covered up. Oh, okay.
Right. So that guy is that guy right there.
Okay, subscribe real quick.
Yeah, the People's Democratic Uhuru movement in St. Petersburg. So he spoke with someone in Russia. They spoke with people in Russia, and then he's not. No. He is being he's charged with felonies. The FBI raided his house.
Absolutely, history is propaganda. Absolutely, history is propaganda. History is written by the victors. It's not an objective look at what happened.
The first thing they did was cover up the security cameras, and they went in there and arrested. They got raided by the FBI. Russia's Foreign Intelligence Service allegedly weaponized our First Amendment rights, freedoms, Russianized citizens to divide Americans and interfere elections in the U.S., says Assistant Attorney General Matthew Olson. Now, first of all, weaponized our First Amendment rights? No. your First Amendment rights are never a crime.
Today, this was 19th. Yeah, so this morning.
Right.
They're God-given. The government did not bestow them. You were born with them as a free person, period. And the First Amendment simply says you can't interfere with their exercise. That's it. And in this, they are. And I looked at, I read this and I thought, I reached out to this guy, by the way.
Matthew Olson?
No, I wish. Matthew Olson would never do my show. I mean, the guy whose salary I pay as a U.S. citizen, no, he would never speak to me.
Listen, look at that quote. Russia's foreign intelligence services allegedly weaponized our First Amendment rights, freedoms. Russia denies its own citizens to divide Americans and interfere in elections in the United States. That you gotta why are you saying that? Let's say what happened.
Well, but
Don't
nothing happened. So that's
right.
the thing. So
but even so, I agree that why are you saying that? But you shouldn't be arrested.
reading this, someone sent it to me and I'm like, okay, clearly there's a crime here. Like they were found with, I don't know, mortar shells, or they were, I mean, usually the government makes up, they put kitty porn on your computer at least to discredit you. There's no underlying crime other than they said something that the foreign policy establishment of the United States disagrees with. Okay.
So Zippy, this goes back to, you know, the getting rid of qualified immunity and only going based on constitutional law and making truth or falsehood illegal. They decide.
Okay, that's not a crime by definition, and this guy is facing life in prison. And it looks because Barry Weiss has not defended him. I think this guy is likely to spend the rest of his life in prison.
Damn,
this is crazy.
The rest of his life in prison.
Yes.
Okay, hold it. This is a thing.
I think he's 83.
How do you say his name? Yeshitela and 3 other U.S. citizens, Penny Joanne Hess, Jesse Neville, and Augustus C. Romaine Jr. are charged with conspiracy to defraud U.S. Hess. Defraud the United States. Hess, Yeshitela, and Neville are also charged with impersonating agents of a foreign government.
Okay, they say to defraud the United States. So defraud suggests theft of something of value, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I defraud you, I steal your money. There's no allegation of that at all.
Just like Trump.
And I actually read the charges. The only allegation is they said things that the U.S. government, the Biden administration, doesn't like. That
is it just me, or is this camera usually like, rule of thirds? He's usually over here. Like the guest is usually over here. Is that just me?
That's it. And because they're unpopular and they have views that are considered quote fringe, like crazy black.
Well, I wasn't putting them together. I was just saying that in reference to that's when we were talking about it. So just that notion we were saying that civilly it should be a law that if you speak a falsehood that you can be charged civilly, and I'm just saying no.
Nationalists, nobody wants to defend them, and my only point is not that I'm like such a principled person. This seems very obvious to me. You can't allow that. You absolutely cannot allow that if you believe in the First Amendment and the freedom of free people to say what they think.
So what this implication is, they're saying that they were recruited by the FSB. So it says prosecutor said Ionov operated an entity called the Anti-Globalization Movement of Russia that was used to carry out its U.S. influence efforts overseen by the Russian intelligence service known as FSB. Okay, they recruited U.S.-based organizations to help sway elections, make it appear there was a strong support in the U.S. for Russia's invasion of Ukraine, and backed efforts such as the 2015 United Nations petition to decry the genocide of African people in the U.S., according to the indictment.
So I think I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. Seems like we get the story. The guy's repeating Russian propaganda, and they're trying to put him away forever. Obviously, we're not going to be able to cover everything in here, so I figure let's get as much as we can. Zippy said, depiction civil damages based on proven monetary damages like slander and libel. But how is that any different than slander and libel? The defamation is already a thing. So if you say something that's not true and it hurts that person, then that's already defamation. We don't need another law for that.
and it doesn't serve the interest of the country are good. We'll agree that our current economic system and our current foreign policy assumptions are good. So that's not a two-party system. That's a one-party system, and it doesn't serve the interest of the country.
All right, we're talking about the Uniparty.
And my position is super simple. The only country I have an emotional attachment to is the United States. That's it.
I said shit. Me too. I just saw the simplest of memes the other day, and it was just a world map, and it circled the U.S., and it said, my problem. And then it circled, the Middle East, said, not my problem. I was like, why does it need to be more complicated than that?
I like lots of countries. I like almost all countries, actually. I've been to a lot of them. I like them all. But the only one I feel emotional about is the United States because I live here. I was born here. My kids are here. It's my country.
Yep. Yeah. Next, imagine being arrested for saying something that's incorrect. Every kid would be in big shit. Yeah. That's something that we can't. I mean, that's thought crime. We can't have that. We can't have that. Now, that doesn't mean that we want people to lie. It's much more a discussion of the government overreach than our opinions on people lying. Turkish man, a Christian, ignores Israel as God's nation. Okay, I don't know what to do with that.
And most of the people in our foreign policy conversation do not feel that way. So that distorts it really dramatically. And they're also, a lot of them are violence worshipers. Like they get off on war. They get off on hurting people and on the power that imbues them with. And I think, the Liz Cheney model.
Haram!
You know what I mean? Like someone like Liz Cheney, who's got like a really sad and barren personal life. A lot of them are this way. Weird personal life. Failed personal life. Like they don't have people who love them. They don't have kids who respect them.
Right, Zippy. Exactly. So if there's no monetary damage to lying, then it can't. Then it's not a crime. That's what we're saying. I don't want if I tell you that Morty is laying in his bed down here when you can clearly see that he's right there. There's no monetary damage to that, so no crime has been committed. Just like the guy spilling Russian propaganda, even though that is a much more serious lie, if there's no direct monetary damage, then what are we talking about? Shout out to Umar. Welcome to the party. Said if Israel's God's nation, are you a lesser favorite nation? That's a good question. America first. Welcome to the party, Umar. And we also got our boy Unwanted Foe. Welcome. Said God's nation. Why would he have a nation? Didn't God create everything? There shouldn't be a focus on just one nation. Sounds more like a human focus. Got him. Coming in hot, both of y'all. Welcome to the party.
And so Adam Kinzinger or whatever, they're all kind of the same. The more broken they are inside, the more focused they are on like war and foreign policy because it gives them a feeling of power and strength and success. Like I can't get my wife to respect me. I can't get my kids to listen to me. I can't pass any meaningful domestic agenda. But what I can do is bomb the living shit out of a foreign country.
Yep.
And there is this, it's not true for all of them, but for a lot of them, there is this syndrome that drives their behavior. But
yeah, I mean, it's almost, how could it be any other way? If you're the type of person who seeks out this type of life to be in politics at that level for those things, how could you not be an empty person? Now, if we're talking about, being on your local school board or doing something like that, that's a completely different thing. But we're talking about somebody like a Liz Cheney. If you aspire to be Liz Cheney, that's sad.
Whatever the reason, it's totally disconnected from what's good for the country. And if you run America, you have one job, and that's improve America, period. They don't see it that way. And so I don't think the system can continue.
I actually disagree. I do think they see it that way, but they're so scrambled by the epistemic bubble that they're in that, we're doing this and it is going to help. It is going to be, all the great things that we're promising that never come true. I think there's definitely a lot of lying, but I think there's a lot of self-deception as well. I think a lot of these people, maybe when they were younger, and a little more green, they actually did want to help the country, the world, whatever it is. But as you get into this and you see how dirty it really is, then instead of just being broken, then you have to lie to yourself and say, no, I actually am saving the world. I actually am helping people. It's not as direct as I would like, but because I did this policy and then that does that, and then da. I think they really have deceived themselves to some extent into thinking that they are, like he was saying before, better than us, and only able to the only ones able to be in control because they think they know better.
And that's improve America, period. They don't see it that way. And I don't think the system can continue because it's too distorted. It's not serving its original purpose at all.
So what was it that these guys said that made this raid possible?
They said Russia, and I don't want to speak for them.
Oh, damn. We're still talking about a dude who was who's going to jail for 83-year-old going to jail for the rest of his life for speaking the words. Shout out to Petrie. Welcome to the party. So that's like Nancy Pelosi. We're all thinking she drinks screwdrivers at 6 o'clock in the morning. Nah, she's drinking jackhammers. My point is she thinks she's literally above everyone. Absolutely. Spot on. They legitimately think that they are of a upper echelon. And we call them the elites. So, I mean, if you were in that position, would you? Well, they're fucking all be the elite. I guess I'm fucking elite. Welcome to the party, Petrie.
I'm like, I interview anyone who wants to see it can interview. And I just want to say again, like, one of the cool things about this moment that I did not anticipate, there's all this sad stuff happening. I know that you probably experience this all the time. Is
only half the time. I would have said 90, but yeah, very sad, very, very sad.
Like finding not only common ground with people you thought you had nothing in common with at all, but also like liking them. You know, like I actually like the guy. I'm sure we disagree on a million things. Probably mad at white people. I am a white person, whatever. But like in my conversation, I was like, I like this guy. You know, he's honest and he's sincere. He's principled. He's a veteran, you know, but whatever. No, I really think what they said was what I have said and a lot of people have said, which is there was a reason for this invasion. I personally think the invasion was a bad idea. It didn't help anybody. I'm against war. I'm sad the war's ongoing.
I'm assuming they're talking about Gaza.
But they were pushed to this by a more powerful country, which would be the United States of America, with the threat of including Ukraine in NATO. It's really
okay. So they're talking about Russia, Ukraine.
Really simple. And right before the invasion, days before the invasion, they send poor Kamala Harris, who has no idea what day it is, to the Munich Security Conference, an area she knows nothing about, no experience in it at all. And they send her there for one purpose, which is to announce at a press briefing with all the cameras rolling to Zelensky right there. She says, "We want you to join NATO." What?
Okay, Ukraine, this is a country, okay? And you are Zelensky. You are the leader of this country. And we, when I say we, I don't mean I just mean the United States of America, where I'm from, the country that I'm from. We want you to be in NATO. I hate that woman.
No other NATO members were clamoring for Ukraine. It didn't even qualify for NATO membership. Why would you say that? When Putin's got troops massed on the Ukrainian border, you send your vice president to the Munich Security Conference with the world watching and say this that no one even really wants. Why would you do that? To provoke?
And why would you do that is a great question. That really does, have some bearing in the idea that at the same time, while they are the elites, they are the people who are, pulling the strings. At the end of the day, they're still just people. And they're the kind of people that we were just talking about, where they go into this because they have nothing to them, yet they think they're better than everybody else. Shout out to 7-1 in the building. Welcome to the party. Good to see you. Welcome.
Vice President to the Munich Security Conference with the world watching and say this that no one even really wants. Why would you do that? To provoke war. Obviously. What's the other reason? And it was scripted. Like Kamala Harris is not freeballing stuff. Like she's saying what she's told to say. Obviously,
and that's the saddest part is that it's scripted and she still sounds retarded.
It's not her area. She doesn't know anything about this stuff. She was told to say that, but why? To provoke a war. Obviously. So that was my read. I said that on Fox News. Not a lot of people liked it, but it just seemed obvious to me. I'm not making excuses for Putin. Please.
It's not like I would sit down with him. Joke.
I want to protect the United States, and I think this war really hurts the United States. Like, my motives are
shit,
always right
me.
out there. Anyway, I think they said a species of that, something like that. And the last thing I'll say is that why was the reaction so strong? Because it was true. They don't care if you lie. No one in power cares if you lie.
But a lot of people
Because it was true. Nobody in power cares if you lie. But they damn sure do care if you pull down the curtain and show the truth. That's a bar.
True. They don't care if you lie. No one in power cares if you lie.
But a lot of people
they only care when you tell the truth.
A lot of people are saying those things, and
because
they're not getting arrested.
Because he's like some black nationalist guy in St. Petersburg. Like, who cares? Who's going to defend him? Nobody. He's some wacko. He's some like 80-year-old guy who's like been in the like fringe left movement for the past 50 years. You know, like new Huey Newton and Stokely Carmichael. He's like a relic of the past. And like, he doesn't have constituency. He doesn't care. The modern Democratic Party hates him. He hates them. And the Republican Party is like black nationalism. No thanks. So he has no constituency. They're never going to, like, you could say that. And what are they going to do to you? You know, nothing, because they can't. But this.
Zippy says the globalists love war and tyranny and hate liberty. It gets in the way of centralization.
This guy, yeah, crush him, kill him. And that's exactly what they're doing. And I really think, not to be like a 70s liberal about it, if you let the weak get crushed, it's bad. It's super bad. You need to protect the weak. And this guy's
super
weak.
bad.
And so you think they're making an example out of him with this?
And they can. They have all this power. This
I just
law
don't understand
enforcement
why
power.
they would move so many people, why they would get so many agents, why they would do this so publicly for one guy's opinion or one group of people's opinion.
Well, I don't know. I mean, why did medieval kings hang the heads of people they executed from the gates?
Right.
To let them know they weren't fucking around.
But it feels like there should be more to it. Like, what did they say? So the problem
you're
is
telling me.
I know. The problem is that, I mean, I'm steel manning this rather. So the problem is that they went over to Russia and they talked with people in Russia, and then they're saying these things. Is that the problem?
They're not charged with that. They're not charged with going to Russia.
But do you think that's the motivation behind it? Because they
yeah. So and they're talking about going over to bolster the idea that Ukraine should get involved in this conflict. That it is ideal for Ukraine to be in this because America's got your back, and we're going to do this, and you're going to be part of NATO and all that stuff. And again, it's because of all the money that is to be made. Elvis? Really? You don't know who Elvis is?
Not charged.
Yeah. Oh, well,
charged with that.
I'll go back.
They're not
That's Elvis.
charged with going to Russia.
But do you think that's the motivation behind it because they went over there?
It's a different article. Has a quote from him.
Okay.
Yeah, they are not. At least when I interviewed them, they had not been charged with taking money from Russia.
So it says they've been accused of us. They've accused us of taking money from Russia. Yeshitela said yesterday at a news conference on July 29th, we've never taken any money from Russian government, but I'm not saying that because I'm morally opposed to taking money from the Russians or anyone else who wants to support the struggles for black people. Don't tell us don't tell us that we can't have friends that you don't like. He accused the U.S. government of seeking to use the APSP as a pawn in its proxy war with Russia, the unsubstantiated allegation that opponents of the war are co-conspirators with a foreign power are intended to bolster the phantom of a Russian boogeyman in the public consciousness. The escalating military aggression by the U.S. against Russia and China is already being accompanied by increasing repression and an attempt to criminalize left-wing opposition to the unpopular war.
Yeah, and exactly. I mean, this was the plan all along. It was, Afghanistan is done. What do we do now?
Well, exactly.
So they're accusing him of taking money from Russia.
They're not. They're not charging
they are.
him. So here's
Okay.
the distinction, which is like really, really important. So there are two levels on which the Department of Justice in all administrations acts. There's the level of propaganda, like what do we want people to think? And there's the level of law. What are we charging someone with? And you have to ignore the first and pay very close attention to the second. So we have a legal system, we have laws, and you can't actually go to jail unless you violate one under the terms of our system.
Or so they say. Or so they say.
And so ignore what they're saying about you. Joe Rogan sucks. He's a bad man. But in the end, I'm busting you for double parking. And so you're not a bad man. You're a double parker under the law. And so if you look at the charges against these guys, they're not charged with violating sanctions regulations. They are charged with totally amorphous, quote, crimes like defrauding the U.S. government, not for money, but for like defrauding it, like, I guess, counter signaling it, sending a message publicly that they don't like. I mean, there's no crime. Look it up, except speaking.
Look it up.
I think that's a precedent that we don't want to live with.
Right. And again, you know, the it seems like they are still on this same topic, but again, we can't operate on, if you say a falsehood, you are now criminally liable or civilly liable. Can't work that way.
No doubt.
All right. I'm gonna take a leak.
Yeah, let's take a leak. We'll be right back. We're going to pee. Tucker and I are going to pee together. Yeah, well, that's the confronting of reality. You're forced to examine your beliefs and why you came to those beliefs in the first place.
No, that is the beauty of this moment, though.
It is.
People are living intentionally much more, and it's also just much more interesting. It's not just, you know, it's less shallow than it was, for sure.
I think so. I think it's more nuanced. People have more at least the people that are paying attention have a more nuanced perspective. But then you have the people that are in the echo chambers that are just digging their heels in even more. And
yeah, the entire gamification of politics has been really, really bad.
You could spot them easily because they're
missing out because there's nothing more liberating than admitting you were wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Facts.
That is like the moment of liberation.
There is no better feeling than admitting you were wrong. I love that because people all the time, oh, you always have to be right about everything. It's like, no, I just happen to be right about most things. And if I don't know, then I don't say anything. So if I'm talking, I'm pretty confident that I'm right about it. But if I'm not, even better, because now I've got a new thing to be right about. Brilliant. NATO is not elected by the people of any nation. They are a corporation of war and strife. Yep.
Right. And that's the basis of religion. It's the basis of AA. It's the basis of anything that improves you as a person is honestly admitting to other people, not just to yourself, that like, wow, I got that wrong.
Yeah.
And then you're free because then you don't have to hide it anymore.
Right. Very important.
And it's a beautiful thing. And that is like changing your mind. I always notice this covering politics that, you know, a candidate would be like, I've got him on tape saying 10
flip-flopper
years ago something different. And no one ever asked my opinion, but I always wanted to say, why don't you say you're absolutely right? And the country's a lot different from what it was 10 years ago. And so my opinions changed too. Like, why wouldn't they? Because I'm not a freak.
Yeah, like if you have the same opinions that you had 10 years ago, not even like just based on the fact that we live in a different world than we did 10 years ago. 2014 was a different world. So to think that you could have those same opinions and it would even apply is insanity. Of course. Now, if we're talking about within a month, somebody saying this is good, and then they go and say that's bad. Obviously, and it's clear that they're doing just to pander. That's a different thing. But the nuance between just lying and flip-flopping and taking in new information, listening to people, learning something, and genuinely changing your mind. How can that is not even something that people can understand anymore? Said we couldn't have the comedy without the ability to say something that isn't 100% true. There you go. There you go. So just for the sake of comedy, we need lies. We need lies.
Really right. And the country's a lot different from what it was 10 years ago. And so my opinions changed too. Like, why wouldn't they? Because I'm not a freaking robot or a liar.
Shout out to Petrie. Thank you so very much for stopping by. I am live every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Thank you for coming through, and I hope to see you again. That's every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, and sometimes whenever I feel like it. So hit that subscribe, ring the bell, and you will never miss an Indian Jesus live party ever again. Thank you so very much. Everybody put Petrie in the chat.
Also, I used to think this because of that, and now I realize I was wrong.
Exactly.
Yeah. Which
How
is
great
fine.
is that?
Yeah.
I mean,
it's part of being a human. It's not being a flip-flopper.
It's the best part of being a human.
Well, this is an interesting time for that because you see people that won't do that. And you could recognize them easily because they're the first people to throw out insults. The first thing to do is describe you, they'll describe you in an insulting way, and then they'll say what they disagree with you about. They'll say something hard. They try to define you.
This right-wing extremist said that blah, 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 blah. Like, come on, man. Come on. Peachy said, I'm in trim jail. Are we talking that? But, well, you take care of yourself and shout out. Welcome. We will see you next time, brother. Good to see ya. Zippy said, we do not have comedy now due to silly social fears. But yeah, the lawyers would only make things worse. Exactly. I mean, we have comedy. It may not be the height of comedy. We have comedy, but only, as Nick said, because we have things that are not 100% true.
The far right, white supremacist, racist,
Been there.
Yeah, they throw it all at you, and then they say what you said.
It's so funny. I got called racist and white supremacist so many times, but when I first was called that, I mean, it really stung, a lot, because just of where I grew up and how I grew up, and those are like the worst things you could ever call somebody. And so it
really was, like, as somebody who's not a white person, and as somebody who wasn't paying attention to politics until maybe the last 7, 8, 9 years, I don't think I really understood the weight of what what the calling somebody a racist, how powerful that actually used to be, and the degree to which that has fallen. It should be very bad to call somebody racist. But they've just milked it for all they could, and now it doesn't mean anything.
How I grew up, and those are like the worst things you could ever call somebody. And so I actually paused for a moment and thought, am I? Which I think it's fair to ask yourself, am I a white, whatever that? I never figured out what that was.
Oh, Petrie, I think I just understood what you meant, trim jail.
Am I a racist? Not really. And I thought, really, the people I dislike most are almost all white liberals, actually. So
you're racist against white people.
No, but I am white. My kids are white. I'm not against white people. I like white people, but
they're just worse than black people.
No, it's not that. It's that. So a reporter once called me about this. Oh, you've been called racist? Like, no, actually, I really dislike you. If I were to sort of narrow down my bigotries, it's like people like you. I just think you're disgusting. I really mean it too. Racist. Okay, all right.
Well, it's a thing. I
don't think that works as much anymore.
It doesn't work. No. Well, I think a lot of the things that overuse, eventually people realize, like, oh, you're yelling wolf again.
Yeah, and it's the power, the power of words, and it shows the power of words, because what was, you could turn a whole room around by saying, oh, that's racist. Turns everything. Morty, please just lay down. Come on, all over the place. Just chill out. That used to have a lot of power. And now that we see that things are different, we can almost, measure that amount of power. It used to be something that would shatter somebody. Oh, I'm not a racist. Like, oh yeah, of course, you're gonna pull the race card. That power was pissed into the wind. For what? Virtue signal points?
That you overuse, eventually people realize, like, oh, you're yelling wolf again. Yeah.
Well, of course. And when people get hit with it and don't disappear, then it becomes obvious that it lacks power.
Well, it's also, you're trying to use these words to define someone, especially someone like you that has so many hours and hours of talking about things, like to try this reductionist perspective of someone, to reduce them to this ultimately very negative thing and not say that they're a human being.
And that even, again, as at my tiny little, obviously I'm nothing, a blip compared to a Joe Rogan or a Tucker Carlson. But I still have hours and hours and hours of myself talking online. And people will hear a 3-minute clip and decide they know entirely who I am. And it's like, and I get it, but it's frustrating.
And also the fact that it's done by the people that want to think of themselves as compassionate and kind, which is the most bizarre. The left is so aggressively incompassionate.
Yeah, they've absolutely destroyed language. Through what? Semantic obfuscation. Yeah. Excuse me, like kiss my kissing your own ass. There you go. There's no races. Everyone is my brother. I just have beautiful white skin. That's all. Fair enough. Fair enough.
Like they're so aggressively unkind with
letting people die of drug ODs on the sidewalk. That's compassion. No,
that whole thing is fucking crazy.
Well, it's
got him.
Cruelty, actually.
It is, and it's also when you find. Do you know Colion Noir is?
I know him.
Yeah, great guy. He opened my eyes to the homelessness thing. We had him on the podcast, and he was explaining how he was in San Francisco, and he was like, "What is this? Is like they don't have any money for this? Is that what it is?" Yeah. Like, no, there's a whole business behind it, and these people that are running this homelessness initiative or whatever the fuck they call it, they're making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. Some of them $250,000 a year.
Imagine making money off the homeless.
And not doing a goddamn thing.
But what's so funny is I do think
not just not doing a damn thing. You're making money off the homeless, and your job is to make sure that your organization that makes money from homeless people can make more money from more homeless people. It's not even as innocuous as making money off of homeless people. It's perpetuating homelessness.
Making money off the homeless
and not doing a goddamn thing.
But what's so funny is I do think the root of their power and the one thing they're good at is just charging the moral high ground and taking it in the first moments of the battle.
Yeah.
They just run up to the moral high ground and are like, we've got this is ours. And they'll protect that at all costs. And it's like, that's kind of all they have is this self-righteousness.
I want to agree with him. I'm thinking rushing to the moral high ground. Because I'm trying to think how that plays into the leftist playbook of that's not happening. That's not happening. Oh, it's just happening a little bit. Well, actually, it is happening and you're a bigot if you don't support it. Maybe that's just a different thing. But how does that rushing? Okay, maybe he'll explain it a little bit more. But the idea of rushing to it's definitely about getting the moral high ground. That's for sure. Zipa said, I'm so white, I'm gray. A darker shade of pale, if you will. Ghostly, even. I'm a cat with no lives. You giant be. Oh, Zippy.
And they'll protect that at all costs. And it's like, that's kind of all they have is this self-righteousness. And if you can puncture that, it's like you're getting rich from the homeless, actually.
Yeah.
And is there anything more disgusting than that? It's some junk.
Yes. Perpetuating homelessness.
Who's dying
and getting paid for
misery outside the convention center in San Francisco. And you're making money on that.
They're essentially using those people as a battery to expand the power of government.
Yeah. And
not only are they putting money, they're not only just lining their own pockets off of the backs of homeless people by perpetuating homelessness, but they are also acting as an extension of the government. They their actions allow the government to creep further into our lives. Insane. Nick said, I get what Tucker's saying. The first friend I made in kindergarten is mixed, but it doesn't look like it. He's as dark as his dad, who is black, and one of the best men I've ever known. Yeah, of course. You know, the notion that anybody is going to assume really anything about somebody based on the color of their skin. Like, yeah, people do that, but they're in the vast minority. The vast minority.
Their own personal advantage.
Yeah, they're expanding government. They're making more government employees. Now there's tons of people that are working on the homelessness problem, air quotes.
I was just gonna do that.
And they probably all have blue hair and they talk nonsense and nothing's getting done and no one's being punished for it. But when they did that,
except the homeless people, right?
Study where they said that they had no data. Like, how are you? What? You can't say whether or not it's doing anything?
Yeah.
Just on their work. We have no data on whether this is working or not. So we're just going to keep doing it, and we're going to use your tax dollars. And then we're going to divert that money, your tax dollars, divert it from people who don't want to do anything but sit around and get high because they're stuck in a cycle of addiction. And we're going to distribute that out to people who are not even supposed to be in this country. Okay with you? And all the Biden people are like, oh my God, that's amazing. That's amazing. 4 more years. 4 more years.
Well, how'd you spend $24 billion?
But why are they not treated as like the most reprehensible people in our society?
I think there's too many things to think about.
Yeah.
I think most people, unlike you and I, aren't even.
Let's try and think. Okay. So what would be, because what was the phrasing you used?
People in our society.
$1 billion.
But why are they not treated as like the most reprehensible people in our society?
The most reprehensible people in our society. What group can we say that is the most reprehensible people in our society? My mind goes to climate activists. Because obviously, we're, not talking about like, people who, obviously serial killers and child rapists and stuff like that. But I'm talking about, not on that level. But if we're talking about, stuff that you're not going to get arrested for, the most reprehensible people in our society, I think trans and climate activists. It has to be them. It has to be them. Who is worse than trans and climate activists? Gruntag said, I truly believe there's no actual pro-Biden people. If anything, they're just anti-Trump or liars. Oh, yeah, there's a whole lot of anti-Trump, but I don't see any pro-Biden. Shout out to Rumble. If you are over on Rumble, if you are on Kick, if you are on Instagram, if you are on X, if you are on Facebook, say hello and join the conversation.
But why are they not treated as like the most reprehensible people in our society?
I think there's too many things to think about.
Yeah.
And I think most people, unlike you and I, aren't even paying attention to it. They're paying attention to the fact that the tents are there.
Social engineers. Okay, who are we saying who are the social engineers?
They're paying attention to, if you go to Los Angeles, the fucking zombie apocalypse. But what they're not paying attention to is what is going on. How many people are making money? I didn't even know until Coleon explained it to us. I had no idea. I thought it was just they don't have any money. They don't put any money in it, and they let these people sleep there.
Oh, no.
No,
there's tons of money. There is tons of money.
Actual
there are
money.
all these parasites.
Yeah, parasites, government parasites.
Of course.
Those are real.
Of course.
And, this whole idea of I've created so many jobs. Like, what jobs? Are they government jobs that are just bullshit? Because there's a lot of those.
Yeah, you just made the government bigger. That's something about all this activism that I hadn't really thought about before. You're making the government bigger and less functional. It already sucks. You're making it bigger and worse at the same time. Zippy said, climate cult wants us all living in tombs to not harm the trees. Yeah, that's why, I mean... So Gontek said the social engineers, the 3-letter groups who control the governments, institutions, and media. Yeah, I mean, but again, that's kind of in the realm of like, like I don't know. I didn't have a good way to phrase the question, but fair enough. Yeah, they're definitely the worst. I mean, the worst people. But I was just talking about like not them and not murderers. I don't know. I didn't phrase it properly, but well,
like what jobs? Are they government jobs that are just bullshit? Because there's a lot of those.
Yeah.
What's crazy to me, just having spent most of my life in Washington, is how close this is to the lawmakers physically. So the U.S. Capitol sits across from something called Union Station, which is a really beautiful train station, right on Capitol Hill. And so to get into the Capitol, when there's a massive homeless city there, people dying of drug ODs right there. And so to get to work every day, lawmakers have to like step over the bodies of fellow Americans dying, living outdoors, shitting in the bush.
Hey, shout out to Giggling Spy over on Rumble. Welcome to the party. Confirmed, not a bot. Welcome. Guys, join the conversation.
Addicted to drugs, which is hell, okay? And they have to ignore that on their way to creating utopia in some foreign country. And you're like, does it ever occur to you that that's disgusting? That your primary duty is to the drug addict, your fellow American, you're doing nothing? And you're telling...
And again, not doing nothing. Actively making it worse. I'm not doing anything to help homelessness. But I'm not saying that I am, and I'm not getting paid to do it. These people are telling people that they're helping homelessness. They're getting paid And not only are they not doing anything, but they are making it actively worse. Zippy is definitely a bot. Zippy is the bottest bot that ever botted.
Telling me how we're going to make Eastern Europe into, this brave new world. I don't know. I just can't get past that. I think I'm not super sensitive or aware or anything. I'm not super anything, really. I'm pretty ordinary, but I think I would notice. I would. So it's like walking into vote on Ukraine aid. I'd be like, shit, they're like 5 junkies on the street. Like, maybe we should do something for them. No.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very bizarre. It's bizarre that they can rationalize it, or at least
the fact that, just because you were born, in a wealthy family, and I think, he comes from like real money, right? That doesn't mean that he's not accurate about what he's saying. So what is this? Unless it was a specific thing that I missed, what does this have to do with anything that he said?
Thing for them? No.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very bizarre. It's bizarre that they can rationalize it, or at least that they don't get called out by all their people. And this idea that it's compassionate, you have compassion to leave these people and to give them aid and to help them and give them clean needles.
But then you've got to think, like, maybe there's something bigger going on, actually.
Oh, there's always something bigger going on.
Yes, there's an entire...
Shout out to Van Allen. Welcome to the party. Said carbon makes up 0.04% of our atmosphere, went up recently from 0.03. If it drops to 0.02, plants start dying. I'm good with 0.04. I said shit. Me too. Welcome to the party. Yes, he was. Yes, but so remember, he's a recovering addict. So when he's saying, that it's hell and all this, he's not condemning the people who are addicted in that sentence. He's not condemning them. What he's saying is that the people who are stepping over those people and taking money to help them. That's what he's saying. He's not saying that you're a bad person if you're addicted to drugs. He's a recovering addict. What he's saying is these people have no problem looking at people who are, literally living on the streets, addicted to drugs, and not helping them and taking money to do so, and tell people that you're helping them. Yeah, but again, so I don't know if you were familiar with that, but he's a recovering addict, so that's not what he was saying at all.
Bigger going on, actually. Because there's an entire sector of the economy now that feeds off of human misery. The drug treatment centers that don't work, the homeless advocates who create more homeless, the migrant workers, American-born aid agencies workers who increase illegal immigration and gang activity. Just all this. People are making money off this. The arms manufacturers that help kill people in foreign countries, et cetera, et cetera. There's a vig in all of that. It's a scam, it's a grift, et cetera, et cetera. But there's something more. There are a lot of people who seem to be just for evil for its own sake. And you're like, maybe all the crazy talk about a spiritual war of good and evil, maybe there's something to that. Maybe that's not an illusion. Maybe that's everyone else has always thought that.
I agree, Tucker. Wouldn't it be such a horrible thing if this spiritual war really is going on? And we lose because we are preventing ourselves from being able to understand the realities of what goes into this spiritual war. And we're all like, well, we got the Bible, so how come we're not winning? Maybe that's not the answer. Maybe that's not the answer.
There are certainly forces that have evil consequences that exist.
But they act on people from the outside. And you feel it also on the other side. I mean, people are better than they naturally are sometimes. You feel compassion for people or true empathy for someone, or you really want to help someone. There's no advantage to you at all. Why are you doing that? It's almost like you're being acted on by good. And all of us have known those moments where we just are cruel for the sake of it, hurt someone for the sake of it. What's that? There's no advantage to us. That's evil acting on us. And I think we're seeing it at scale. And I grew up in the most secular world you could ever grow up in. Southern California in the 70s and 80s, and in a very secular family. And I've never really paid much attention to that. And all of a sudden,
and he turned out to be such a horrible person who made all the wrong decisions in life and ended up in a gutter because he didn't have God in his life. right? Oh, no, that didn't. Okay, just making sure.
Everyone, a lot of people I know who had similar childhoods to mine, similar life experiences, are like, maybe there is like a supernatural realm. Maybe there's more than just like what we can see and feel. Maybe life is more than just ordering shit on Amazon. Maybe there's like a purpose. Maybe there is this battle between good and evil around us that we can't see, but that we do experience a lot.
It seems like it's always been a narrative throughout human history. It's always been this recognition. Carl's over there snoring. I don't have my headphones on so I can hear him.
Oh, you're snorting or snoring?
Snoring. Carl snoring. Carl the dog.
Carl.
Yeah, me too. I was like, what are we talking about? Yeah, well, okay. Just for
you have selected Microsoft Sam as the computer's default unused feature. Blah blah. Yo, dude, that job can be boring.
That's what you got.
You're snorting or snoring?
Snoring. Carl snoring. Carl.
You Spy says, I remember Tucker Carlson way back when he wore bow ties. I didn't come to appreciate him until much later. I am exactly the same way. Exactly the same way. If you guys remember that I did come from a never Trumper position. I used to hate Tucker Carlson. I used to hate how smarmy he was. I hated the bow ties, and he always had this again, which I now can appreciate. He would have this like, oh well, I just don't understand. It's like, do they want people to come over the border? And asking these very simplistic questions as if he's stupid. But now I see it's like, oh, that's the point. That's the joke. I'm right there with you. I am right there with you.
Carl the dog.
Carl the dog.
Carl the dog.
Carl the dog.
Oh, he's the best, but he snores when he sleeps because he's a little French bulldog.
He's a sporty little bulldog.
He's awesome.
Yeah,
he's the best. Dogs don't get cuter. They might be as cute, but they don't get any cuter than Carl.
I think that's right.
Yeah,
I've got some pretty good-looking dogs. I will say.
Yeah, I have a beautiful dog. I have a golden retriever, but he's not as cute as Carl.
Nobody is as cute as Morty. Look at him. Look at him right there. Guys, for just 99 cents, you can feed a young black dog.
Carl's a different thing.
Don't tell him that.
He knows. He doesn't like Carl. Well, he doesn't hate Carl, but he like ignores him. He thinks of Carl as a thief of attention only.
Which he is.
Yeah.
Fair.
So human beings have always at least believed that there are forces of good and evil, and that that's what exorcisms are about, right? The idea that you're possessed, that you're possessed by evil. There's always been this thought that there's good and evil. But when did you start considering that and thinking that that's because weren't you at one point in time, weren't you a Grateful Dead head?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. He was back in the day. Like I said, man, I love Frenchies. They're the only breed my dog always gets along with. Yeah, I mean, it's sad that they shouldn't exist, but they are adorable. They are adorable. I was gonna go on a tangent. I'm not even gonna bother. But they're yep. They're just they're adorable. It's funny because, again, if you guys are not familiar, I'm a professional dog trainer, but the Frenchies always have a little bit of an attitude that they're bigger than they are, but it's a lot of chest puffing, and so it's like, no, I'm not gonna listen. I'm not gonna listen to you. Oh, you're gonna hold me to this? Okay, I'll listen. That's what I think of when I think of a Frenchie.
Listened to him this morning. Yeah,
you used to travel around with them.
Yeah.
How old were you when that was going
on? I went to my first Dead show in December of 1984, so I was 15 speaking of the San Francisco Civic Center. Yeah, wow. The New Year's shows. So they've always played in Oakland, but one year they played at the in San Francisco. And so we were in Tahoe over Christmas, and for some reason my dad was gone. I don't really know where. So my brother and I drove illegally from Tahoe in the family vehicle.
How dare you?
To downtown San Francisco.
How old was your brother?
13.
So you drove? Or he drove?
I drove.
15, you drove?
Yeah.
Wow.
From Tahoe. So it was a couple hours. And
America, 2 15-year-old boys going to Lake Tahoe. No problems.
I remember being on the freeway like,
at 15. Go to one in the chat if you ever went joyriding before you, and you're in the driver's seat before you were of age or had a license or permit or any of that stuff. If you were 16 and you got your license late, I don't care about that shit. I'm talking about if you're 12 and you took out your mom's car or something. Put a 1 in the chat if you've ever joyridden.
Dean.
Well, we had a pretty different kind of childhood. But anyway, we didn't.
Is that you?
Yeah, it's me on the left.
Damn.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, I don't know.
Damn. Tucker Carlson with Jerry Garcia.
I don't know how that picture is hanging in my barn, and I've never, I don't release any pictures of myself for family or anything like that. And somebody came to my barn and took a picture that's hanging next to my sink, and put it on the internet.
Wow.
So that's my brother Buckley.
There you go, Zippy. There you go. Yeah, I was a little reckless when I was younger. When I first got into cars, or when I first got my car, I got into the hobbyist side of it, but I didn't have any money, and so I had all these like Pep Boys level, eBay level upgrades to my car. I had a 4-door Civic, and I thought it was the coolest thing. I had rims on it. I had the Altezza lights. I had the neon blue dome light. Oh, I was so cool. And me and my boy would just race up and down Route 1 and do like a I don't know if it was a full quarter mile or whatever, but oh man, good times. But then you get older and you see people die in accidents and stuff, and it's like, all right, let me slow down. Oh, fuck that. Yeah, that's how Akon died. You will never find me on a motorcycle because there's too many bad drivers out there. It doesn't matter how good of it doesn't matter how good of a driver or a rider you are. Some random schmuck can kill you. Like the only wheels I ever broke the law with were under my feet. The Fruit Buddha. And I said, you were so cool. What happened? I grew up. Unfortunately, I grew up just a little bit though.
And put it on the internet.
Wow.
So that's my brother Buckley on the right. That picture was taken. So my dad was a reporter in San Francisco in the 60s, and pretty well-known reporter. And that was in the 80s when I was in school, and we were home for Christmas vacation. And he had covered the Grateful Dead. He knew the Grateful Dead. My dad did.
Happens to the best of us, right? Happens to the best of us.
So they were in his office. They came through DC and they called him, and they came over to his office. Jerry came over to his office, and my dad's like, I got Jerry Garcia here. You guys should come down. So my brother and I, we lived in Georgetown, and we had a Vespa. Remember those?
Yeah.
And we drove our Vespa. It was freaking cold out. I'll never forget that. We drove our Vespa down to 6th and E or whatever, where my dad's office was. And there was Jerry. I'd never met him before. He was missing the middle finger of his right hand, famously. The famous handprint, Grateful Dead handprint. But when he shook his hand, you could feel it collapse kind of, because he didn't have that middle finger. But anyway, so my brother and I drove to the New Year's show. It was actually a couple of nights before New Year's, and we didn't have tickets, of course. And we were in the park across from there, and we were, whatever, doing the, whatever things that people do at dead shows, and we were pretty freaking out of it. And this guy comes up out of nowhere and puts a ticket right in my face and goes, here, and hands me a ticket. So
you're not wrong.
So my brother was extremely out of it. I mean, he was, I never should have done this, but I was like, all right, man, I'm going in. All right. And I left my little brother in the park during the show, just like very, very impaired, like super, super impaired. It was completely wrong to do something like that, but I did do it.
Oh yeah. I don't know if we've all, but I've definitely had some days where I was behind the wheel and I should not have been. Before we get into that, let's say thank you to our boy, Unwanted Foe, with the $2 super chat. You saw his head pop up like that? He knows what's good. We got a beef liver for him. Feed the poor boy. Yummy, yummy, yummy. Thank you, sir. And of course, that makes you the new sponsor of the stream. Thank you, sir. So yeah, when I was younger, I didn't. So like when I first started driving, I didn't really, I was straight edge, so I didn't drink, I didn't do any of that stuff. So I never had to worry about drunk driving. But then I smoked weed, and I was like, ooh, I like this. And then I went to college and started doing that stuff. And I would drive as drunk as drunk as a skunk, and certainly not proud of it. I do think that there's some people when they're like, oh well, I can handle it, and they're like, I mean, maybe you can handle it, but if you get pulled over, you're fucked. And then there's people who definitely cannot handle it, and nobody should be driving drunk, but there is definitely a difference. But I took it to another level because again, I was when I got into my drug addict phase and I was doing pills and stuff. I remember going to this was after college. So I was living back up near my hometown and like near Rutgers and stuff. And I had driven down to school to Rider University where I went. About 40-minute drive down Route 1. Going down there, blowing lines of this, that, and everything else. Well, and except for anything that'll keep you up. Smoking, drinking, doing pills, and then it's time for me to go home. And I don't know if you've ever mixed Oxycontin and Xanax. It's an interesting feeling. And what'll happen is that your vision won't focus. And so like it gets blurry. And so it's almost like if these are your eyeballs, if you're just looking straight, you'll be fine. And then your vision just starts to go like that. And then you shake it off and it's good. And then it'll start again. And so, obviously the more fucked up you are, then the sooner it'll happen. And so I'm used to, driving where maybe once every 5 minutes, you get in it and start like that and you shake it off and you're good. But this one night, I'm driving home from Rider. And again, it's just a straight shot up Route 1, but it's a 40-minute drive, 40-minute drive. And I could not go 5 seconds without having to shake this off. I'm driving like, blah, blah, blah. Oh God, my neck hurt the next day because I was shaking. Well, I made some terrible, terrible decisions. Please, guys, do not get behind the wheel, especially now. I mean, Uber wasn't a thing back then. So especially now that Uber's a thing, please don't be driving drunk. Get as fucked up as you want. Just don't drive. Just don't drive. Thank you again to our sponsor, Unwanted Foe.
Very, very impaired, like super, super impaired. It was completely wrong to do something like that, but I did do it. And then I went in and saw the show, kind of freaked out in the middle of it, hid in the men's room for a while. Never forget that. Standing on the stall smoking cigarettes.
Is it acid?
It was psilocybin mushrooms, which, by the way, I
called it. I told you, Seabass. I knew I had heard that he was on mushrooms.
should just say, I got sober 22 years ago. I'm completely opposed to anything like. I don't take Advil. Like I'm totally opposed to anything, but other than nicotine and coffee. But yeah, it was much.
Well, dilly to anybody who is fighting and keeping their sobriety. And yes, I understand the irony. Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, admitted is a strong word. I mean, he just said it, and I don't think he was hiding it. But you know, he was saying we were fucked up. We were on this, that, and the other. And you know, you go run into the bathroom scared. That's not alcohol.
Anything like I don't take Advil. Like I'm totally opposed to anything, but other than nicotine and coffee. But yeah, it was mushrooms. So we ate way too many, and started to kind of melt down a little bit. But anyway, the point is I get out of the show. This is pre-self. This is 1984. And I get out of the show and they played actually a lot of tunes that they didn't.
Oh yeah. And we're talking about going to the Grateful Dead.
They played Spoonful. Like they didn't play Spoonful a lot. It was like a pretty obscure tune. I'd never heard it before actually. And
there's some deadhead be like, oh, Spoonful, that's my shit.
I couldn't find my little brother. And I'm like in charge, and you know, my closest friend and lifelong friends. Talked to him this morning.
Oh, this is so adorable. So tell me you don't do drugs you've never done drugs without telling me that you've never done drugs. First of all, in 2020, an eighth of shrooms was $30. Okay, so again, where a person who is not rich can get a quarter of mushrooms for $30. That's too much. Now, I'm a boss, so I did 7 grams to the face, but it is very, 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 no, it is very, very, because you're not getting enough. He didn't say overdose. You're not getting enough shrooms to, or rather, what's the other way? I'm trying to say it the other way. You're only getting enough shrooms to get you there. You're not going to purchase and not get them. So this is a miss. You just missed this one. Hey, shout out to Mugen1 in the building. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the party. Always good to see you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Talking about Tucker tripping balls at the Grateful Dead.
And I'm like in charge, and my closest friend and lifelong friends. Talked to him this morning, and but I couldn't find him. And I was like, oh man, my brother's coming. But there he was. He appeared like an hour later.
It always works out. It always works out. As long as you trip with the right people, it always works out. Because you want to, be, part of your group and do your thing. But sometimes somebody got to take an adventure. And if that person can be trusted to take an adventure, then you're not worried about them. And when they go on their adventure, if they can be trusted, nothing to worry about. It's when you do drugs with the wrong people. And now you have to start babysitting people. That is not fun. There was one time when we were just doing like a chill, well, it was supposed to be a chill a trip session where, we would just go to my house, take a couple tabs of acid, watch some DreamWorks movies and just chill out and ooh, color, that kind of stuff. And it was supposed to be me and my one friend. He comes over, we drop. We're off to the races. And then like maybe 40 minutes later, he's on the phone. He's like, yeah, come through to my house. I'm like, well, yo, who are you talking to? He's like, oh, it's just Dan. Dan's going. I'm like, this is somebody that I don't really like. And when you're on acid, you don't want to be around people that you don't like. And so, but it was, it was already in motion, and it was a whole thing. I was like, whatever, I'm already like, you just got to lean into it. And so he gets there, and we were watching Boss Baby, and I'm already gone. He had already dropped. The guy that came, but I'm like 2 hours in. The guy eventually got there, and he dropped acid, and so he is we're tripping balls, and it's just tickling and coming on for him. So we're watching Boss Baby, and every 5 minutes he says, "Yo, this would be crazy if I was tripping." Yo, oh my god! Imagine seeing that if you were tripping, dude. I wish I was tripping balls right now. That's how you talk when you're tripping balls. And I was getting so mad because I'm like, this was supposed to be a quiet night in my living room with my friend, the way that I wanted to do things. And I realized that just like, gotta let go. He's here. He's tripping. He's having a great time. There's no reason that you also can't have a great time. He's not going to bother you. He might be a little bit loud, but you are the master of your own universe. And that's not something that people can easily do. That's where those bad trips come in. You get into this state of mind and it just, spirals out of control. But I was able to, earlier on in my psychonaut career, I had some bad trips and I had some people who were able to guide me and show that like, okay, you're in control of all of this. None of this is happening outside of your mind. And, you definitely can't, just control it. And drugs definitely react differently for everyone. But you are the master of your universe. Guamtech said the best way out of a bad trip. Take whoever is bad tripping to the bathroom with a fan. Turn on the fan and tell them to listen closely. Then ask them if they hear Led Zeppelin coming out of the fan. It works. I'm definitely going to have to try that next time. I mean, I don't really find myself in situations where I'm not completely aware of the circumstances of my trip. I mean, it's usually like a once or twice a year type thing. And again, the settings are perfectly perfect. And that's how I like to trip. But good tip. I like that. Next, and my worst driving experience wasn't even when I was intoxicated. It was driving a service truck back from Santa Barbara when I was so tired. It was a 454 Chevrolet truck with 1,500 pounds of tools alone. I'm glad you made it, brother, because that could have ended badly. Lots of drugs make it easier to be stupid. Definitely. All right, let's dive back in here.
And in lifelong friends.
Oh yeah, we're grateful that.
But I couldn't find him, and I was like, "Oh man, my brother's coming!" But there he was. He appeared like an hour later. He had spent the entire show in somebody's van parked there, but he seemed undamaged, and it was great. I mean, not everything about it is great. I mean, I do think the drug thing got, definitely hurt people for sure. But from my perspective, I went to a bunch, probably 50 or more shows, and really enjoyed it. And I love the fact that they had 2 drummers. That was a huge thing for me. I love rhythm. I think it's the basis of music. It's obviously the basis of music. I mean, the instruments are cool, but they're kind of like interior design, and the architecture is rhythm, and it's the universal sound that every culture appreciates because it reflects something that's pre-existing, that's in you. Everyone relates to rhythm, and I just absolutely loved the drums. And they would always play, like it was called drums actually, but they would play a section of every show was just drums. Bill Kreutzmann and Mickey Hart just going crazy on the drums. They had drum circles, and I just like drums. To this day, I listen to drums, just percussion. King Sunny Ade, the great West African drummer, and anyway, whatever. So yeah, I like the Grateful Dead a lot, and still do. And I like that kind of music.
Jam music.
I like jam music. I like acoustic music. I love bluegrass and Americana. And to see that grow, to see Billy Strings become like a venue packer, like Billy Strings is like a big act right now. I do feel like creativity, art has been completely destroyed and eliminated in the United States. There's like, as we were saying earlier, you can't be creative if you're not honest. It's that simple. And we can't be honest, so there's no creativity. And in the visual arts and literature and architecture, it's died. But comedy is still alive. Thank heaven. And music, for some reason, has escaped that and is still alive.
Yeah.
And the growth, the explosion of acoustic bluegrass, the banjo, like one of the great instruments ever, is just thrilling and like a sign of life. At this late stage.
Well, I think when there's social pressures and when society's in chaos, art does tend to thrive. Some kind of art.
Art. That's right.
Comedy certainly does now. Like comedy's never been better.
But it came
an amazing
close.
time.
It came close.
Oh yeah. Yeah. The walls got breached.
Whoa.
Yeah.
No, but a few years, I don't know when it was, but 8 years ago or something, it felt like, oh wow. People can't tell jokes anymore.
We kept doing it.
Well, I noticed.
Yeah.
And
yeah, we kept doing it.
You kept the little
and so and that's kind of, there's a is it worth bringing all this in? Let's just say, so there's a lot of creators, content creators, who will, get burnt out trying to chase the algorithm. And there was a video I just watched today where somebody was going through it, and even though his channel is literally 50 times larger, or 500 times larger than my channel, there's still camaraderie of understanding what it's like to be, to put yourself out there and to have people react and whatever. And he's talking about how, he was doing a certain type of content. I really like that content, but he would do some other stuff, and then that was getting a lot more views. And he's like, oh, well, I got to go with the stuff that works. And now he's at a place where, like, I don't want to do that stuff anymore, but that's what works. And now you have a community of people who expect that, instead of just doing what you wanted to do all the way along and building the people who wanted that stuff. Now you're burnt out and you're doing what you don't want to do. Why did you even start? Why did you even start that? Hey, shout out to Ned. Welcome to the party. This podcast was so awesome, wasn't it? Yeah, I am really enjoying it. I am really, really enjoying it. It's always nice to get to see a different side of the people that we're typically seeing in one context. We're always seeing Tucker hosting and interviewing. And not that he hasn't been making the rounds at all, but especially on a platform of this size, it's nice to see a different side of him. Welcome to the party, Ned.
We kept doing it.
Well, I noticed.
Yeah.
And
yeah, we kept doing it.
You kept the little embers alive.
Yeah. Well, it was flames. It's just when you get people in a club and you take their phones away and just have them just be actual human beings and not be filming everything, and just being completely trapped with this idea of capturing something and then putting it online. Then you get to have a human experience.
You mean when people like live in the present
Yeah.
rather than in the future
Yeah.
or far away?
That's one of the great things
Through a
about
data line.
going to a good club that uses yonder bags for your phones, is that it just takes you out of it. Like at the very least, it's a break. Like this podcast is a break for 3 hours of phones. There's no one's checking phones.
I love that.
That's very rare with human beings where they can just sit down and just have conversations.
Seabass said, Tucker is the target of many Christians like myself who support Israel. All right. I'm like I said, I wonder if Destiny is starting to find himself in that situation with not liking his own content anymore. He just seems burnt out and not as sharp. Could also be the Vyvanse. I think that it is because I kind of feel like I know what you're talking about. And to me, it seems like there is, kind of the understanding that we have that there's when it comes to online left-wing stuff, there's Destiny, and then there's everybody else. And not to say that he's some amazing person, but in terms of just the bare level of quality, there's no one that comes even close, and he's not even a super amazing person. And so I think realizing that the people who are doing this are not really at my level. Why is it that all the people who I used to respect, I now look down on? And I think there's the incoming red pilling. I don't think he's not going to be a Trump supporter. But just like Anna Kasparian, I think as the landscape continues to shift, the same way that somebody like myself, and I think you also used to call yourself a liberal back in the day, right? But people like us who are now just conservatives, when that used to be a dirty word to me. But things have changed. And so I think what conservatism is and what it could be, the purpose of this fucking channel is to broaden what conservatism can be, or rather who can be a part of conservatism, not broadening conservatism. Conservatism is what it is. But broadening the parameters of the people who can come into that movement. And so that's to say that Anna Kasparian, Destiny, they're not going to completely change their minds and now love Trump and all that stuff. What it is going to say is their brand of leftism is going to eventually be squished in with our version of liberalism. And we're all just going to be conservatives together, I think. Right? I mean, that seems to be the only rational. If we look at the trend, the left keeps getting further and further and further, and more of the people who were moderates and part of the left are just getting shoved over onto the left. Shout out to Liberty Twitcher. Welcome to the party. So what aspect of your beliefs are such that it's supposed to be surprising that you're a conservative? The atheism. I'd say the atheism is the biggest thing. The fact that I mean, I don't know if it would be surprising that as much as I believe that life begins at conception, that I don't want abortion banned completely. I don't know if it's so much surprising that I'm a conservative. I think it's just like my point is what conservative has meant. That word has changed over the past 7 years. So I'm still the same person that I am. I've definitely, as we were talking about, I'm not a flip-flopper, but I've definitely changed my mind on some things. But by and large, the principles that I hold are the same principles that I had when I was saying, fuck the conservatives, I'm a liberal in 2015. It's just that now those words are used differently. And I think that's going to continue to happen. And I think people like Destiny and Anna Kasparian are going to be swallowed up, for lack of a better term, by the label, just like myself and many other, like myself and Tim Pool. We're now conservatives. He's now far right wing, but we're liberals. Yeah. So exactly. Yeah, was once a libtard. I don't know what's worse, being a liberal or being an anime fan. An anime fan? Unfortunately, I was both. Well, I was never an anime fan, so I'm gonna say that's worse, just because that's worse. Hey, we got Johnny Tsunami in the building. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the party. So people aren't rational. We will destroy ourselves before everyone gets along. As long as everybody assumes that we must operate on some form of dogma, yes, you are absolutely correct. If we can get to a place where we understand that dogma will lead us to destroy ourselves and get rid of dogma and put every single belief and principle on the table to be questioned and scrutinized, then maybe we can change it. But right now, we got the transes and we got religion. So fighting that battle on two fronts. Welcome to the party. Liberty Twitcher said, I doubt that's uncommon nowadays. Plenty of so-called conservatives are atheists and not against all abortion. So yeah, I was answering the question as worded, in surprising, but I don't think that I don't think it is necessarily surprising that I'm conservative. Most conservatives are moderate about abortion, and plenty of conservatives aren't religious. Very true. Again, not where we want to be on that front, but definitely moving in the right direction. Everybody hated Bush until 9/11, and then everybody loved Bush, and then everybody hated Bush again. Oh, boy. And now everybody loves Bush again. Hey, shout out to Gwynnifer. Welcome to the party. Good to see you. Good to see you. Liberty said it's the left that likes to pretend that conservatives are all Christian and anti-abortion in all cases. Yeah, I mean that's the character. But that when it comes down to it, they're absolutely for somebody who is an atheist. I do have issues. Being heard and being respected and in a lot of different circles. So it's certainly obviously not everybody, otherwise this platform wouldn't exist. But it's not based on nothing. It's not based on nothing. Wonderful said voting for Clinton is worse than being an anime fan. Give me my $2 back. How dare you? No, it's mine. It's mine. Johnny said you'd have to get rid of all emotion to get rid of belief. Dogma is based on belief. People will always believe different things and fight over who's right. You're fighting a losing battle. I agree that people will always be fighting, but and always fighting over who's right. But as long as that is a constant conversation, then it doesn't have to be that everybody's right. It just has to be that everybody is agreeing to have that conversation on the same terms. We don't have to have one person that's right in order for, dogma not to be, the basis of society. We just need people to feel like, okay, they are wrong and I'm right. But even though they have more power, I have the ability to engage that. And so it doesn't have to be that everybody's sitting in kumbaya. It doesn't, and none of that. It's just exactly what America already is, just without those dogmatic beliefs. Where are we here? I saw some of it. I definitely have to see the whole thing. But yeah, that's gay. That's gay. So Lieutenant wearing the decaying mask of the conservatives. Yeah. Gwenifer said, I believe in a lot of things, but I also accept that I might be wrong. No dogma needed. There you go. Dilly to that. Oh, I forgot to cut that. Oh, super sweet. But exactly. There's no assumption that everybody is going to agree on the same thing. That's not what the terms are. You're saying that, so you're okay. Peace out. Okay. All right. I was going to try, but peace out.
That's very rare with human beings where they can just.
That is why people will I have an uphill battle. Not that a battle that I can't win, but this, that, nope, you're wrong. I win. Bye. See, again, we can disagree, but you are dogmatically saying I'm right and you're wrong, and I'm not willing to have that conversation. I'm saying peace out for. So again, the terms are not that everybody believes the same things or thinks that all the same things is right. Just that you can disagree and also be moral. That's it. So do I.
Sit down and just have conversations for long periods of time without being distracted by something.
Not in my house, but yeah.
It's a real problem with folks.
It's a huge problem. It's a huge problem. And the one thing I will say about my very unconventional childhood,
that party raging, guys,
and like eating with people and spending 4 hours at the table was like totally normal in the house that I grew up in. Totally normal. In fact, it was like daily. And that was our primary form of entertainment and mode of communication, and thing that we did for fulfillment and fun. And I still do that. I still feel that way. And we have dinner parties.
Right. Again, here. So this is what we're saying. Nobody's saying that it's moral to defend crime. Right now, many Democrats do that because of their dogmatic belief that the government is right in their in their CRT and their racism and this all of that and the other. If somebody is willing to come to the table, they believe that, but they are willing to be under. They're willing to be not even proven wrong, but in terms of a broad scale, that the idea, no, I'm right and I can't be proven wrong, that is a position that you can't hold. Then those are the terms. That's it. It's not about agreeing on the same thing. It's not about, so if somebody wanted to defend a crime, for example, then without the dogma that allows them to think, oh, well, it's a what, and then we can actually have the discussion of why crime is not to be defended. When you have the bullshit propaganda of CRT and racism, and we have to help these people and all that stuff, then yeah, of course many Democrats think this way. The problem is that we need to change the way that people think that way. So I'm not saying that there's a good way that people think. I'm saying that it's just a different perspective people need to take. Just to understand what your terms are. The problem is you don't understand that expecting everyone to act moral is stupid. So apparently, just right over your head then. I said the same thing over and over and over, and you still don't understand it. So the funny part is that it's probably more the animal brain that causes us to fight over things like ideology. The higher human nature in us would be the thing. The higher human nature in us would be the thing to overcome that and move forward. Bingo. Exactly. What thing? Again, this is a dogmatic belief. I'm sure that you believe that, but you are wrong. Yeah. And so, like, this is exactly my point. So as long as it is an acceptable thing to say that you will never this, that needs to be a shameful position to have. How arrogant must you be to think that you know what could be? You don't. And so if you don't think that, then that's fine for you to disagree. But if you are interested in in improving society and you are not willing to let go of any particular idea, then everybody else will be able to see, oh, you're just a dogmatic person. And the rest of us will win.
He's constantly, and there are no phones, and people talk and entertain each other, and it's so much more interesting on social media. But if I were on social media, I don't think I would find that on Instagram. And I'm not attacking Instagram, but I don't think I would find anything like that.
No, it's definitely a lost thing. And
it's such an easy thing. It's such a fun thing.
It is a fun thing. Yeah, it's a great thing, and I think people enjoy it. And I think that's also led to the rise of podcasts too, because they don't get that in their real life. So at least they get to be a person who sits in on these conversations.
I gotta say,
there you go, perfect example of how that's an incrementally done thing. So yes, people think crazy things. People have dogmatic beliefs, but I was one of them. But as I had not only a standard education, but was able to listen to different schools of thought, I was able to see that I want to let go of that dogmatic belief. More voices, more ideas is better. Next, I know there's always going to be bad, but I hope that we can continue to become better as humans. I don't want to believe the percentage of bad can't be lowered. That's it. I believed in God. I was born a Catholic. I was confirmed in the Methodist Church. So that was my crazy dogmatic belief.
Because they don't get that in their real life. So at least they get to be a person who sits in on these conversations.
I gotta say, this is not being suck uppy because I don't suck up ever to anyone, but
I'm gonna suck up to you, Joe.
The effect that podcasts have had is just incredible, and I never would have predicted that in a million freaking years.
I would have never thought it. When I first started doing this, it was in my living room with my friend Brian, and we did it on a laptop.
You guys remember? I mean, have y'all? I mean, just to and again, for somebody to say that let me do this. Actually, no, I'm good. So for somebody to say that you can never have the most impactful podcast in the world and have Elon Musk on and have Alex Jones and all this kind of stuff, if you're going to say that, then I'd like to, I don't think this is the first episode, but I'd like to introduce you to somebody.
It makes you feel so
if you need thoughts.
It sounds ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, where? Just give me episode 1. All right. Well, I don't know exactly where it is, but the point stands. The point stands. That yes, is it likely that somebody is going to start making silly videos about whatever on their laptop computer and just become one of the most influential people in the world? No. But he did it, didn't he? So maybe you're right. Maybe I will fail. But you will definitely fail if you can't let go of your dogmatic ideas.
First started doing this, it was in my living room with my friend Brian, and we did it on a laptop. And we had a webcam, and we were like,
with my friend Brian.
Yeah, Brian Redband of Kill Tony. You met Brian.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
But I just love the phrase "with my friend Brian." Like every bad story, like I was with my friend Brian. we were down in Mexicali, and me and my friend Brian.
That's not what the show's been. He took 2 seconds to say, "Oh my God!" He didn't even say you. He said podcasting, and it was implied because Joe he didn't start. He wasn't the first podcast, but he essentially is the godfather of podcasting. It was one little thing. Zibi said, God is physics. It goes where it wills. We are not but molecules bouncing around in the void. Which God is that?
Started fucking around online, and then we started eventually bringing in guests, and then we eventually got a studio, and then eventually I got a big place in LA, like a real warehouse, and then eventually moved to Texas.
And so I'm going to have this exact story where, there was a guy named Johnny Tsunami who said, I will never do it. And Liberty Twitcher was saying, I can't do it. And then here we are in my huge studio. And I'm talking to exactly who I want to talk to, who is going to change the face of America.
It all just eventually happened.
But it was not, I mean, I was in another part of media for that whole period. And if you had asked me up until the last few years, like the future is clearly shorter, crisper, more produced, right?
Right. Everybody would have thought that.
Exactly. Yeah. Everyone did think that, including me. And I hated it. I like long form, but I was a long form magazine writer for years. So I thought that was over.
Yeah.
Not over.
Everybody thought that.
Apparently. And guys, speaking of being over, we are coming to the close of our party, but the party rages on in Discord, guys. It is free to join Discord. It is absolutely free to join Discord. We have our free chat channel. We have a bunch of free stuff. But if you are a member of the YouTube channel, you get access to the full server. That includes our after party channel, where you are not stuck behind your keyboard. You're actually on screen with me and everybody else. We don't have to worry about the YouTube censors, anything like that. You say whatever you want. You can be as offensive as you want, and nobody can do anything about it. It is a grand old time. Come and join us.
Yeah, even my friends, they were telling me how to edit my show. They're like, you should edit that. No one's going to listen to 3 hours. I'm like, then don't listen. I don't care.
Exactly. So this ties what I was just saying about the guy who was making it was a guy who's making videos about music. And I remember when he started to chase the views and the numbers and just doing basic shit that he knew he didn't like. And he would kind of complain about it, but not really, because obviously he's making money. But he's like, well, you guys don't care when, so he would, it's like about metal and punk and stuff. And he would do something on like why the marketing of a band that wasn't really loved, but had decent music, why they did what, all that kind of stuff. And I was really interested in that. As somebody who's not the same 15-year-old kid, oh, you're a sellout. Oh, I liked them before they were cool. And having that attitude, it was really cool to have somebody who was explaining all the things that I'd missed, thinking that I was too cool. But eventually he's like, well, if I just read a band's Wikipedia page, then I get more views. It's like, okay. But now a few years later, he's like, well, I don't want to do this anymore, because if I do anything that I like, it gets no views. It's like, well, yeah, dude, because that's the community that you fostered. You fostered that people are coming to have basic Wikipedia page stuff just repeated back to them. So you can't complain now. And I'm not, I'm not like giving him shit. But that's if you're not going to go with what Joe's doing and what Joe's saying right here, then you don't have much to complain. Shout out to Libertad, just joined the Discord server. Welcome. If you are a member of the channel, just send me a DM and I'll make sure you get the permissions for the after party. Guys, I'm already in the after party, so make sure you are there, because if there's nobody there, I'm just going to go to bed. Guinevere said, I don't feel much connection to a desert god. I said, shit, me too. Hey, shout out to our boy Guamtech with a $5 super chat. We're going to bust into the apple and honey. So this one is dedicated to holding back the Morty rumbling for one more night. For one more night. Yeah, see that? One more. Guamtech's got your back. There you go. And of course, that makes you the new sponsor of the stream. Thank you so very much, sir. Everybody but Guamtech in the chat. Thanks to Guamtech, we're going to party a little bit longer.
They're like, you should edit that. No one's going to listen to 3 hours. I'm like, then don't listen. I don't care. Do whatever you want. I'm not making any money doing this. It was just for fun. Yeah. And so I had the same kind of idea without making, I had that same idea with the intention of making this my livelihood. This is what it is. If you like it, great. If you don't, bye. If you really like it, pop me a little something so we can keep this going. That simple. I know that I will never be in a position where I'm saying, oh no, here's something I want to say, or here's something I want to talk about in the realm of politics or culture, but I can't, because my audience will be mad at me if I talk about this, or if I have this opinion. That's not going to happen. Like, I love you guys, but fuck y'all. I'm not going to be beholden to anybody. And so I just, it's odd that it all, kind of happened at the same time. Like, I'm DMing him right now. But interesting. You're telling me how to edit my show. They're like, you should edit that. No one's going to listen to 3 hours. I'm like, then don't listen. I don't care. Do whatever you want. I'm not making any money doing this. It was just for fun.
I love that.
It was just fun for years.
Mm-hmm.
For years and years. I did it just with no money. There was no money in it forever.
What year, like how many years in did it start to pay for itself?
Ooh, for Joe Rogan. Let's see. What do we think? Everybody give me a number. How many years do you think it took for the Joe Rogan Experience to pay for itself? Not making money, just to pay for itself. This is before that time. So there was no such thing as a podcast that was just going to blow up. So it had to be at least 2 years. I'm going to say 6 years. I'm going to say 6 years. Context says 3 years. Okay. Anybody else? 3 years, 6 years. Let's see.
I love that.
It was just fun for years and years. I did it just with no money. There was no money in it forever.
What year, like how many years in did it start to pay for itself?
5.
Ooh, split the difference. Nick came in at the 2 to 4. So I guess by the closest without going over, 2 to 4 wins. There you go. So, I mean, obviously, Joe Rogan is a famous comedian. So there's clout there. But again, the landscape was very different. There was no such thing as podcasting like that. There was no such thing as making money podcasting. And was it him? It was either Joe or Tim who was just talking about, yeah, exactly. That's not profit. That's just paying for, that's just breaking even. But I think it was either Joe or Tim Pool that was just talking about, like, the way to succeed on YouTube is to just keep doing it. People, as I was just talking about, people give up. People get bored. You pick the thing that you care about, do it enough that people can or put enough into it that there's going to be a speed bump in anything worthwhile. Put enough into it, and then you will have built something that should stand the test of time. I'm not necessarily expecting that I'm going to be able to retire and buy a private jet off of the TheIndianJesus money or anything like that. But I absolutely expect that I can put myself in a position where I don't have to work a regular job ever again. As soon as I can make enough money to pay for myself and invest in something, I'm never working another goddamn day in my life. Now, me and Nick were just talking last night about how 90% of what goes into this channel happens when I'm not in this chair, when the camera's not on. But it's almost not work for me because of how much I love doing this. Oh, took me a second. Took me a while, but I found it. No, I mean, yeah, the price is wrong, bitch. Funny story. I actually got my final ban on Facebook that got me to just be like, all right, I'm done with this platform, was me saying this. Somebody was saying something, and I commented with the GIF, the price is wrong. Bitch. 30-day ban. That was on the same day that I got back from a previous 30-day ban. Guess what happens when you tell somebody who's addicted to your social media site that they can't use it for 60 days? They break the addiction and they never come back. So good job. You didn't know that? Oh, yeah. Dilly dilly to Bob Barker. Yeah, that's why fucking Drew Carey hosts it now. That motherfucker died.
What year, like how many years in did it start to pay for itself?
5.
That's a long time.
Yeah, a long time. It took a while. I mean, it was probably like exist.
But again, remember, he was on Fear Factor. He was working UFC. It's not like he was just doing nothing. Whoever said, I have 1 million followers on various pages on Facebook, so I'm stuck there, but I hate it. Well, yeah, and that's got to be the most difficult thing, is to get Facebook people. Like, I'm sure if you have people on Instagram, you're like, hey, my Twitter's over here, or YouTube, that's probably 10 times easier than getting anybody from Facebook to do anything. My neighbor just had, the ones that I talk about from time to time. She asked me to type up, she's not good with computers, so she asked me to type something up for her. And so I typed it up. I sent it to her, and she couldn't open the Word file. So I'm like, okay, well, then let's try this. Let's try that. Let's try that. Because she's got a Yahoo account. I'm going through Google Docs. I'm going through Google Drive. I'm like, yo, just start a Gmail. It takes 25 seconds. You copy and paste your email that you already have on Yahoo. Just do that. Password, re-enter password, done. It's done. Now you have access to all of this stuff. And I thought she was going to do it. And because I didn't hear back from her. She was saying, oh, I can't read it. I can't do this. I figured she did it. And I'm like, oh, finally, she just downloaded Gmail. Got the thing. About hour later, I go out to walk Morty, and she's sitting out there on her porch, and she's like, oh, I figured out a different way to do it. I guarantee you whatever you figured out was a lot harder than doing exactly what I told you. I don't get it. The boomer mindset. I can't do it. I'm deciding that I don't know how to do it, even though you're giving me specific direct instructions on how to do it.
It took a while. I mean, it was probably like it was existing. Yeah, but about 5 years in, then it started making money. And then it was like, oh, it was a business. I remember very clearly, I was on stage once in Chicago. I was doing the Chicago theater, and I had this story.
Yo, Jennifer, let me get a share. Let's get some shares up on Facebook. Let's good. Let's get that Facebook popping. I mean, shout out to Virgil, but it's Virgil, you know?
I was going to tell. I'm like, how many people listen to the podcast? And there's 3,700 people in the place, and they went nuts. It was like, yeah. And I was like, oh. Like, I thought there was this like thing that I'm doing where, a few people are paying attention. I don't even know back then, I never even knew what the numbers were.
Yeah, that I think that, when the channel gets a little bit bigger, it's going to be important, like, especially if I'm bringing on sponsors and stuff like that, which I'm going to have to do money from donations and memberships. But if I have to do that, then, what the fuck was I just going to say? Oh yeah, I it'll be more important that I have to pay attention to the back end numbers. But like, I haven't looked at my dashboard in forever. Hey, we made it to 2.7. Yay! Shout out to all of y'all. And Zippy's doing his damn thing over with Giggling Spy over on Rumble. Trying to get everybody to talk. I don't know why Rumble is so quiet. I thought that was the free speech platform, but everybody over there don't got a damn thing to say. Oh, thank you, unwanted vote. I will do that right now. Thank you.
Attention. I don't even know back then, I never even knew what the numbers were. I didn't even care.
Well, they may not have been like, could you even collect numbers accurately?
Yeah, you could get downloads off of, whatever.
Shout out again to the sponsor of the stream, Tech.
The provider was with the host. You could get like download numbers from the host, and they would use that to inform ads. Like, oh, he gets X amount of downloads per month, and then they would, that's when there was very few people advertising on podcasts. They were like, all right, let's give it a try.
But it's one of the great developments.
Rumble, where you at? It's just Zippy and Giggling Spy. Where you at? Free speech. Speech it up.
Between podcasting and Billy Strings, I'm serious. I have hope that it's not all going in the wrong direction, because you can't.
What's Billy Strings? What is that? What is Billy Strings? Billy Strings. Okay. All right. What do I know?
And get this view that like everything is falling apart, late Rome.
Yeah.
Just a matter of time before, it really does collapse. And then you see these signs that are not minor, they're significant. That like, no, people, I mean, I haven't met a person in the past year who said, I thought this, but then I was reading the New York Times and I realized I was wrong. Like, not one person.
No.
Right.
But the number of people saying, I was listening to Rogan and da-da-da-da-da. It's like, really noticeable.
Very noticeable. Very, very noticeable. That's something that I had never really thought of. That's such a good point. You never hear, oh, this article in here or this segment on CNN got me to change my mind. but all the time, this podcast, that podcast, that really does change people's minds. Crazy. Remember to share you on the Pagan Libertarian and Witches for Trump. There you go. Thank you. Very, very much appreciated. And yeah, if we got anybody else on Facebook, we got Facebook numbers here. So nope, nobody on Facebook. Yeah, I would love to get the because I have the tab open for Rumble. It does say 33, and then it's nobody on Kick. Should I even? I might get no, I don't know. More behind the screen, the behind the scenes stuff you don't need to worry about. Did we get that? Yeah, one of the musicians he was talking about earlier when he was going off about how he loves bluegrass and drums. Yeah. I think Billy Strings helped showcase Richmond, north of Richmond. Oh, okay. CBS, right? What network is Dr. Phil on? Oh, come on. Yeah, CBS. And the Oprah Winfrey Network. Own. Witches for Trump is badass name. It is. I like it. I like it a lot.
Listening to this podcast. I was listening to Rogan and da-da-da-da. It's like really noticeable.
Yeah, that's why it's interesting. It's interesting because you could put people in front of people and they might not even be right. It might be wrong. But at least now you're having conversations about something you would never have a conversation about before. And even if this person gets exposed as being incorrect, well, now you have a more nuanced understanding of what the subject is about and why people think incorrect things.
And so do that and then change people's minds. And then people realize that maybe dogma is a bad thing. And then they let go of that dogma and they still have their opinions, but they are willing to discuss those opinions with other people.
And, you know, this idea of like platforming people is a big one today. Why would you platform that person?
First of all, platform is not a verb. And whenever they take a perfectly good noun and turn it into a verb, you know something bad is afoot.
Yeah.
Okay. Platform. Oh, you mean letting an adult human being talk?
Right.
I think that's not only allowed, I think that's the law.
Not only that, I think it's important for us. It's even important to talk to.
Oh, is this you? It's you? Witches for Trump. Shout out. Everybody go follow Witches for Trump.
People that are completely different than you, that don't agree with you at all.
Well, it's especially important.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just masturbatory.
It's interesting.
It's just you alone getting yourself off.
But it's also interesting to know why these people think the way they think. And also, there's so many people that if you talk to them online, you'd have these horrible conversations. But if you sit down with them as an actual human being and treat them with respect and consideration, and you talk to them like a human being, and you just try to be as friendly and open as possible, despite what your differences might be, you realize most people have a lot in common. A lot more, way more in common than they don't.
But that's the secret that they're trying to hide.
Yeah.
So mind control. You know, the end stage of mind control is censorship, right?
Yep.
But it begins long before that. And it begins by creating false categories that wall off your willingness, that prevent you from wanting to know certain things or talk to certain people. And name calling is the most obvious tool. Like, he's a crank. He's a
go give her a follow, guys.
Racist. He's a whatever. And fill it in. And then you're like, I can't listen to that person. And I have to say, your willingness to platform or to have a conversation with Alex Jones, I think, was a revolutionary act.
That's so weird, dude. Like, that's so weird. Look, I have my Twitter open. We just went to her, and then I came back. Alex Jones is right here, and he's doing that. Ooh, what is this part? We gotta find that. Okay, bet. And then I went to go into share my shit, and then they're talking about Alex Jones. The universe is on some shit today. I'm second on Guantek said, I'm imagining a band with a Trump lookalike fronting and a coven of witches dancing on stage. I would pay to see that. I would pay to see that.
Actually, not that everything Alex Jones says is right. It's cool. Not everything.
That's so weird, dude. We're right at that part. Shout out to everybody put Guantech in the chat. Everybody put Guantech in the chat. Without Guantech, we would not even be seeing this. We wouldn't even know. We wouldn't even know that they were talking about Alex Jones. Shout out to Guam.
Revolutionary act, actually. Not that everything Alex Jones says is right. It's not. Not everything I say is right or anyone says is right. But Alex Jones is an interesting person. And even if he's not interesting, he has been walled off from the rest of us through name calling. And your willingness to be like, no, actually, we're just going to listen to Alex Jones and you can decide for yourself.
Well, Alex has been my friend for more than 20 years.
Well, exactly. But even if he but I'm sure you have other friends you haven't invited. And just like, you were not allowed to talk to him. And when you hear Alex Jones talk, you may not agree with everything he says. I don't know that I do. But you definitely understand why they told you couldn't listen to Alex Jones.
Well, that's one of the reasons why I had him as one of the first guests when I came over to Spotify.
And of course, YouTube and Google, as much as I love that you allow me to make some money here, I'm not happy that you went back 3 years in the Timcast library to take down Alex Jones and Joe Rogan episodes. Why'd you do that? Why'd you do that?
I was like, let's go.
What did they say?
Well, a lot of people weren't happy. We lost sponsors. It was an issue. But I think it did the job. You know, it regardless of what he said that's incorrect. Clearly, the Sandy Hook thing was incorrect. You know, Alex, I know Alex personally, so I know what he was going through. And, you know, everybody wants to talk about mental health and they want to praise people for being honest about their mental health issues and support them on their mental health journey to
unless they're saying something that I don't like.
Wellness. Alex has gone through some real issues. And one of the reasons why he's gone through some issues is because that guy is uncovering real shit that's terrifying every fucking day.
I mean, real PTSD.
And he was drinking out of control. And, you know, he's just fucking constantly stressed, freaking out. And when you see so many lies and so much propaganda and so many psyops,
they're turning the frogs day.
You start seeing them where they don't exist. And that's what he did.
Well, and he's
Complex said, notice they took down the Timcast video right after Alex Jones said he was going to sue the FBI and the CIA. Okay, so more an Alex Jones thing than a Timcast thing? Possibly.
It's also channeling some stuff. You can't call 9/11 in detail because you're super informed.
Before the fact.
He called it.
Yes.
He literally called it in the summer of 2001. He said planes will fly into the World Trade Centers and they will blame a man called Osama bin Laden.
If I'm not mistaken, I put that video when when we were covering Alex Jones on Tucker. When he was saying that he, you know, they may have even played a clip. I don't remember. But the trailer for this stream was Alex Jones talking about how he called this. He knew it exactly. And it's not because he had a crystal ball. It's because it was written down and everybody knew about it. Supposedly. Allegedly.
You know that he said that because he said it on tape.
Yeah.
Multiple times. And then he said, call the White House and tell them this. Now, that's all we know about Alex Jones. Let's just say that's the fact set. How'd that happen?
Right. How did he do that?
No, he's channeling something.
You think
That's
so?
super. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
There's like no other. I mean, tell me how he did it otherwise. I've asked him about it.
Argument from personal incredulity.
How did you do that at length? You had dinner in my barn recently. We're talking about this. How'd you do that? I don't know.
That's not what he said. He said, it's in the papers. I read it. I read what they put out. I read everything. That's what he said.
It came to me.
He did not say it just came to me. Come on. What are you doing? What? There's no way. There is no way. Hold on. Okay. No. Tucker Carlson, Alex Jones, 9/11. That's not going to come up with anything. Let's see.
The man, the myth, the legend, Alex Jones.
To blame. And if there was an outside threat like a terrorist group drew it, like the World Trade Center, we know who to blame. And if there was an outside threat like a bin Laden, who was a known CIA asset in the 80s, he's the boogeyman they need.
Okay, now let's look up. When did the crash happen? September, right? It's in September 11th. Yeah, so he's been having a lot of stars.
Yes, that's insane.
Oh, jeez. So he kind of predicted that.
He did.
He said World Trade Center. He definitely did.
On-tape predictions that you made, some of which are so precise and so prescient that it makes the hair on my arms stand up. And I'm being sincere, and our viewers are about to see what I'm talking about. Here is a list of things that you called ahead of time.
By the middle of September, that the new policy.
We saw this. If you didn't actually see all of this, definitely check out my coverage of this conversation. I just want to see if it just came to me.
The precision of them. I'm not.
You want a beautiful setup.
Those 9/11 clips are crazy. I'm actually bothered by the precision of them. I'm not accusing you.
He didn't have to say the video. That hurts.
How could you, in July of 2001, call that? You said they're going to have airliners fly into the World Trade Center and they're going to blame a guy called Osama bin Laden. Leaving aside what actually happened, how could you have known that?
I could be wrong. I could be wrong. But I'm pretty sure he doesn't say, it just came to me.
Well, in the longer clips, it's a multi-hour show from July 25th, 2001. I specifically walked through all the reasons, and I knew they were hyping up that we were about to be hit by Osama bin Laden. I knew that the World Trade Center had been attacked the first time and that the Fed's been involved helping cook the bomb and allowing it to go forward. And I just saw a lot of the pre-programming that was happening in the media because they were on the news saying, life's about to change in America. And I was reading what the RAND Corporation was saying.
So he's showing
putting out. I read the PNAC document from a year before, Rebuilding America's Defenses, that Dick Cheney had helped write. And it said we need a Pearl Harbor event on the American homeland to be able to bring in this police state and this control. And then
so that was a lie. That was a lie. As we just saw, he didn't say, it just came to me. He's not channeling anything. He's reading and listening. And yeah, thinking about things in a way that maybe not so many other people are. And again, this is where I get frustrated with the looseness and the recklessness with which we use language. When you're talking about channeling something from a spiritual war, motherfucker read a piece of paper. What are you talking about? And you want to treat it like then you would get mad at somebody on the left who would say that, oh, we treat Alex Jones, that crazy motherfucker, like he's a god or this, that, or the other. This is why. Why did you do that, Tucker? That's a shame. That's a shame.
On my barn recently, we're talking about this. How'd you do that? I don't know. It just came to me. And that's real. That is real. The supernatural is real. And I don't.
Oh, he's not even implying it. He's directly lying to tie it to supernaturality. And the problem isn't that people use Christianity to behave well. The problem is that because people use Christianity to behave well, when somebody says, oh, he's channeling something, there's definitely supernatural, then that makes sense to people. That is the problem with religious language and ideas, religious language and dogmatic ideas in politics. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
And that's real. That is real. The supernatural is real. And I don't know why it's so hard for the modern mind, I guess, because it's a materialist mind.
Oh, yeah, just the stupid materialist. Obviously, like Alex Jones completely just, he intuited it.
To accept that. But and that's not a new phenomenon. It's happened throughout history. There were people called prophets. And there were people who were prophets who weren't called prophets. But there are people who have information or parts of information, bits of information, visions of information come to them, and then they relay it.
And I agree with all of that. It's just the same thing I was saying back in 2015. Why are you guys lying about Trump? There's enough here that if you don't like Trump, just say the things that are real. If you believe in the supernatural, if you believe in God, if you believe in any of these things, stop lying. Stop lying. If you need a lie to justify your belief in the supernatural, do you really believe it? Now, I'm not saying that Tucker is purposely spreading a message of supernaturality and obfuscating what happened. I think, again, it's a problem with the shorthand. But when he says, when Alex Jones says what he says, and I was looking at this and I heard that, and people were saying that, then again, connecting those dots that nobody else connected. That is an amazing thing. But when you take it out of the realm of what it is, it wouldn't be amazing if it just came to him. It would be pretty wild in terms of the supernatural stuff, but that's not relevant because that's not how it happened. If it was how it happened, then that would be a relevant thing to talk about. This is how we get all confused with semantic obfuscation. It's not just the left, guys. A little tiny lie like that completely shifts the entire substance. The entire substance of this point is skewed by that.
Or parts of information, bits of information.
44 bots lurking on Rumble. Say hello to prove you're not a bot.
Of information come to them and then they relay it. It's not from them. They received it. This is like one of the oldest phenomenon in human history. So those people tend to be a little crazy, a little imbalanced, a little different from everybody else. Do you know what I mean? They live on locusts and honey in the wilderness. I mean, that's just like they're not like everybody else. And that's clearly part of what I'm not saying that everything that Alex Jones says is a prophecy from God. That's not. But
specifically the things that he said, it's not a prophecy from God, that he read it in the news.
That was prophetic. And if it was,
no. According to Alex Jones, it was not prophetic.
Says it's a prophecy from God. That's not. But that was prophetic. And if it wasn't, tell me how it wasn't.
Because he read it on a piece of paper and somebody told it to him. That's how it wasn't. Which is that a joke about the Jussie Smollett brothers? If not, I have no idea what this means.
In July of 2000, like I lived in Washington in July of 2001. My dad worked in the government. Like I was as well informed as anybody could be about what was going on in the government. I've always been interested in what's happening in other countries.
Apparently not.
I was aware of Osama bin Laden. I knew about the Taliban. I knew, more than most people. There's
not Alex Jones
who was saying, not one person in Washington, D.C. was saying, at some point soon, they may fly airplanes into the World Trade Centers and blame Osama bin Laden. Like that just wasn't a thing. So if you said that multiple times on camera, there's a reason.
Yeah, because you read it on a piece of paper from a reliable source. This could have been such a cool segment. This could have been such a cool segment about how he does the work and is able to connect these dots. And instead, isn't it amazing how sometimes people just get stuff? Stupid. Shout out to Matic1 in the building. Welcome to the party. Indeed, he is Christian. Tucker or Alex Jones. I believe they're both Christian, but I believe so. Welcome to the party.
Thing. So if you said that multiple times on camera, there's a reason. Like, and everyone, I've said this to 50 people, what I just said to you, and they all look at me like
you lied? Because you did. Nick said, thank you, buddy. This is one of the many reasons I love you, man. You point out the problems with religion I see and explain it very well. I hope people are able to get where you are coming from. They might not, but eventually they all will. I appreciate that, buddy. Thank you. Dilly to you. I look more Persian. All right, fair enough. Maybe it's just the lights. Maybe if we turn the lights off, then I'm more Indian. No, I am. I'm Indian and Chinese, but my parents are from the Caribbean. So, we got a Canadian, eh? Welcome to the party. Well, I mean, I don't hate the Persian Jesus, but wasn't Persia and like isn't that kind of like the same area? Because then if people are like, "Oh, blasphemy!"
How dare you?
That's a little bit closer. The Indian Jesus is, I'm just a guy who looks like Jesus a little bit, and I'm Indian. I don't know. Shout out to Sayer. Wow, welcome to the party. So Alex Jones is Christian, but his ex-wife with his children are Jewish. This is why he won't talk about the topic properly. Okay, fair enough. Thank you for that, and welcome to the party.
Like, and everyone, I've said this to 50 people, what I just said to you, and they all look at me like, yeah, that's stupid. Tell me how it's stupid. Like, tell me how he did that. Like, that's impossible, actually.
He didn't just do it with that either.
No, I'm aware.
He's done it with a lot of things.
They're turning the frogs gay!
And that's one of the more interesting things about him is that, like, he talks about stuff. Like, he talked about, like, I'm going to send this to Jamie because this is one of the really crazy ones that he called. And this is like 2000 probably.
But like, again, don't you think that would have been such a, just for the sake of Alex Jones, if someone were to take a clip of this conversation and instead of Tucker going to the supernatural, oh, he's intuiting it and he is receiving a message from the beyond. And they just talked about, see what you can do? Okay, yes, he's made some mistakes, but as terribly as you think about Alex Jones, look at all of the great he's done. And you can do it too if you just pay attention. But why would we want to have people pay closer attention to society when we can just have them believe in a thing in this guy?
Stupid.
Maddox says, true that. He is good looking. Just looks like the Persian king from the Alexander movie. There you go. Thank you. That's kind of, yeah. You know where I was coming from. Fair enough. Very much appreciated. All right.
2017.
Come on, buddy. What are we doing?
I'm like, how the fuck did you call this? Because it's one of those ones where you're like, this is exactly what's happening now.
Mm-hmm.
Here it is. Here, 2017. Hold on a second. I'll send you this, Jamie.
Come on.
Some guy. On real quick.
Oh, this is the okay.
2 years. InfoWars, Alex Jones, and Joe Rogan discuss what's currently happening right now. Google, CERN, technology, vampire, aliens. In a nutshell, Alex was pretty on point with this message. Let me know what your thoughts are. Is he crazy or is he on to something?
This is from 2017, and it looks like on JRE. Me, so I'm an atheist. I was born. I'm American born. Indian on my father's side, Chinese on my mother's side, both West Indian. I was born in the Catholic Church, confirmed in the Methodist Church. Now I am an anti-theistic, agnostic atheist.
Was pretty on point with this message. Let me know what your thoughts are. Is he crazy or is he on to something?
It's really big. So, okay. Yeah, pour another shot of that. The media, let's get this out properly. All right, let me give you my best, please. Deep research and proclamation. What do you think is going? But am I wrong to still hold out hope that aliens are real? Because I tell you, that's the two guilty pleasures that I still cling to. It's Bigfoot and aliens. Those are two. Bigfoot, not so much. I wish it was real, but I just don't. Are you ready? Yes. Bigfoot's real? No. Come on, Daddy. No.
He said, "Come on, Daddy."
Yes. I'm gonna give you the biggest one. Joe, there are aliens in this room right now. For real? Yeah, you're not of this world, bro. Me? You're the alien. Oh, wow, I didn't know. Well, here's what the elite believe. Yeah. Let me be very clear, because media will take this out of context. I only go with what I can prove. Oh, thank you. And people can't even handle that. There's armies. We're fighting a pedophile conspiracy, but beyond that, it's a vampire conspiracy in that they are interdimensionally sucking the essence of our youth. Right. And they believe they're possessed by an off-world entity. They do? Yeah, and Joe, I've been on air 22 years. I don't get into aliens, metaphysical, religion, any of that. I've studied the elite, and I've also communicated with a lot of the top people. And if you want to know, I will actually break down right now the best knowledge right now what's happening on the planet.
I remember. I don't remember at all what he said, but I do remember watching this. I don't know if it was live, but when it came out.
What's happening? The elite are all about transcendence and living forever and the secrets of the universe, and they want to know all this. Some are good, some are bad, some are a mix. But the good ones don't ever want to organize. The bad ones didn't want to organize because they lust after power. Powerful consciousnesses don't want to dominate other people. They want to empower them, so they don't tend to get together until things are really late in the game. Then they come together. Evil's always defeated because good is so much stronger. And we're on this planet, and Einstein's physics showed it, Max Planck's physics showed it, there's at least 12 dimensions. And now that's all the top scientists and billionaires are coming out saying it's a false hologram. It is artificial. The computers are scanning it and finding tension points where it's artificially projected and gravity's bleeding in to this universe.
So let's stop real quick and say thank you to Matic. Thank you for subscribing and watching and sharing is always very good. But what are we actually talking about right here? We're talking about some idea of how the universe works that is not Christianity. It's not Christianity. It is spiritual in nature, based on how we use the word. It is, let's say, metaphysical. But all you Christians are so sure that he has no idea what he's talking about, right? He has no idea. Could be a simulation. So Discord is basically like its own self-contained Facebook group. So we have a server. So you click there. There's no, there's no company that moderates us. It's just my own thing. It's a free speech platform, absolutely free to join. We're in there all the time having conversations, sharing stuff like that. Definitely come join. It is free. That is free. So yeah, where am I? Look. So yeah, again, he's talking about this and it falls directly in conflict with Christianity and all the major religions. So either he's onto something. I'm not even going to say he's right. Either he's onto something. Let's go ahead. He's onto something, or he's completely wrong. Those are the only two options. Either he's onto something, if not completely correct, or he's completely incorrect, right? There's nothing in between those two. So even if he's onto something, but he's not quite correct, who are you or anybody else to determine that this stuff that you didn't even know about that he's talking about right now is less accurate than a book that was written thousands of years ago? Do you really have the confidence, or is it more convenience that you don't want to have to give up your worldview? Confidence or convenience? Because again, he's either onto something,
at least 12 dimensions. And now that's all the
or he's off.
Scientists and billionaires are coming out saying it's a false hologram. It is artificial. The computers are scanning it and finding tension points where it's artificially projected and gravity's bleeding in to this universe. That's what they call dark matter. So we're like a thought or a dream that's a wisp in some computer program, some God's mind, whatever.
And I'm not saying I believe that that's true. I absolutely am willing to accept that that may be true, but I have not seen or read anything that would tell me that is more likely than any other theory or hypothesis, rather. But it could be.
They're proving it all. It's all coming out. Now, there's like this sub-transmission zone below the third dimension that's just turned over to the most horrible things is what it resonates to. And it's trying to get up into the third dimension. That's just a basic level consciousness to launch into the next levels. And our species is already way up at the fifth, sixth dimension, consciously our best people. But there's this big war trying to like basically destroy humanity because humanity has free will and there's a decision to which level we want to go to. We have free will, so evil's allowed to come and contend and not just good. And the elites themselves.
And notice how, even though he's speaking a very, what would be an analog to religion, he's not talking, he's not talking like how Henry was talking yesterday. Well, you don't know that God in every single way, in the animals, in the nature, in the rain, he's just saying the thing. And it's a lot of things, but he's just saying it.
Believe they're racing using human technology to try to take our best minds and build some type of breakaway civilization where they're going to merge with machines, transcend, and break away from the failed species that is man, which is kind of like a false transmission because they're thinking what they are is ugly and bad, projecting it onto themselves instead of believing, no, it's a human test about building us up. And so Google was set up 18, 19 years ago. I knew about this before it was declassified. I'm just saying I have good sources, that they wanted to build a giant artificial system. And Google believes that the first artificial intelligence will be a supercomputer based on the neuron activities of the hive mind of humanity, with billions of people wired into it with the Internet of Things. And so all of our thoughts go into it, and we're actually building a computer that has real neurons in real time that's also psychically connected to us, that are organic creatures, so that they will have current prediction powers, future prediction powers, a true crystal ball. But the big secret is, once you have a crystal ball and know the future, you can add stimuli beforehand and make decisions that control the future. And so then it's the end of consciousness and free will for individuals, as we know.
So let's just take that claim right there. Let's just take that claim right. Just that. Once you get the crystal ball and you can see the future, then you can add stimuli to change the future. That's some Doctor Strange shit. If Tucker's right that we are in this spiritual war, is it not better that we understand what the fuck is going on than just, I believe in God and I pray and I go to church on Sundays and it's all good? He's definitely onto something. Is he right? Probably not. Being spot on. Is he spot on? Probably not. Most likely not. It's like, I don't know if this is true, but it'd be a lot cooler if it was. All right. Yeah, absolutely it would. Which is why I don't want to take the position that this can't be true, because it conflicts with Christianity, which is what many of you have to say. You have to say that. Because this is not what's in the Bible. And it could very well be that Yahweh sent his son, Jesus Christ, to earth. And all of that stuff. And also this. How do you know? How do you know? And why is it appropriate to claim that the search is over? To claim that you have the holy book. The answer. If not only to prove him wrong, why would you not want to understand this better? I don't get it.
Future. And so then it's the end of consciousness and free will for individuals, as we know, and a true 2.0 in a very bad way, hive mind consciousness with an AI jacked into everyone, knowing our hopes and dreams, delivering it to us, not in some PKD wirehead system where we plug in and give up on consciousness because of unlimited pleasure, but because we were already wired in and absorbed before we knew it by giving over our consciousness to the system, our daily decisions, that it was able to manipulate and control into a larger system.
And again, does that sound impossible? Does that sound like it is impossible? Only if you're coming from the dogmatic belief that it must be God. Don't say, but are we really ready for it to be true? Let alone know the truth. We need to brace for the worst, expect the unexpected. Our readiness is irrelevant. Our readiness is irrelevant. Atheist, Christian, Muslim, anyone it is very clear that there is reason to believe that whatever this spiritual war is, there's something culminating. You need to brace for the worst because you don't know what's coming. If you did know, you could prepare. But you don't know. And you claim that you do. I just don't get it. What about Christianity is so strong that keeps you guys from believing it's this particular version? The spiritual experiences that you've had, don't question those at all. I've had plenty of spiritual experiences. Those are obviously real. But the attribution of those experiences to the God of the Bible is silly. It's silly. Context said everything can be a little bit true. Not quite. This can't be a little bit true if the Bible is true at all. That's what it's a zero sum game. But everything be a little bit true. It's unfortunate that so much of it is a lot of it lied about for selfish reasons. Dylan says the fear of unknown multiplied by 10,000. So you know what we could do to fix the fear of the unknown? Know it! Learn about it! Instead of cowering in fear like baby little bitches. Why are we cowering in fear? Well, not we. I'm not cowering in fear. I am out here asking the questions. Why are any of you hiding in fear? Learn it, and then it won't be unknown. Gwynfor said, a lot of Christians have already designated all aliens are probably demons. Decide. Yeah. Dogma. He said, no, God has the devil and opposing forces, so both can be true. Okay.
There's now a human counterstrike taking place to shut this off before it gets fully into place and to block these systems and to try to have an actual debate about where humanity goes and cut off the pedophiles and psychic vampires that are control of this AI system.
And remind me, is it a bunch of people talking about Christianity that are getting banned and shut down and matrix attacked for talking about Christianity? Or is it more people talking about stuff similar to what Alex Jones is saying right now, who are getting banned and blocked and deplatformed and all that stuff? Okay.
Before humanity's destroyed. The AI? How'd the pedophile?
Yeah, I'm talking about that.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah.
I love his reaction. He's just like, why did we just fucking... And of course, Seabass has to be his, I think, your controlled opposition.
Yeah.
It's
Ned said, maybe all the people like Jesus tapped into some portion of the natural world and they did know how to interpret their experience, and thus it gets turned into dogma. Maybe, but then it should be a process of Jesus explaining either if it is possible for the rest of us to tap into some portion of the natural, the spiritual aspect of the natural world. If it is possible for a human to do it, then what Jesus should have been talking about was how to do that very specifically, meaning sit down and turn all the lights off. Think about something that, did that level. Obviously, didn't have lights then, but you know what the fuck I mean. Or that it is unknowable to you, and how he knows that. No experience needs to be to be turned into a reason for dogma, because every experience really did happen, so it can always be explained because it did happen. We might not have the language or the tools to be able to explain it, but it's not inexplicable. And then using dogma, when you don't know how to interpret it, and you turn to dogma, well, then you close off any further understanding. You're saying, I don't know what this thing is, so I'm going to decide that this thing is this, and stop asking questions about what this thing is. Shout out to Cheddar Steve over on Rumble. Welcome to the party. Said, who here likes their Trump protesters medium rare? Violence. Dillett said, I love Tucker. He and Gutfeld feel like they are the few. I love Tucker. He and Gelt feel like they are the few, if not the only ones from Fox News world that felt genuine. I don't know, man. I don't think. First of all, I don't think Gutfeld is genuine, and I don't think. Not even. I think Tucker was very open about the fact that he was not genuine until he left Fox. He's like, yeah, I didn't. And what were we just talking about with Kayleigh McElhaney, whatever? He didn't know who she was, even though he was covering her. He was reading out, hey, Kayleigh McElhaney did this, and then showing a video of this on Fox News, and didn't remember who she was. Legacy media Ain't it? Ain't it? Cheddar Steve said child abuse. It just hits different. Yeah, that's why we want to stop child abuse, unlike those on the left who are championing it. Alex Jones is not his real name. I don't care. And so that's true. But maybe Jesus didn't know that it was something we could all do since the experience was so rare. Maybe he thought he was special, the chosen one, but was mistaken. I don't know. Just spitball. And again, maybe if there's a possibility that this is true, then why are we taking on dogma that this isn't what it is? If you can just spitball, then that's exactly where dogma does not belong. We're not going to spitball about what do you think is going to happen to this when I drop it? Where if I let go of it with both hands, what do you think? We don't have to spitball. We don't have to brainstorm. We know that it's going to fall because we know about gravity. And of course, there could be some physical anomaly where a black hole opens up right here. Sure, that could happen. But in every single other instance ever, gravity has worked the way gravity works. So I don't have to spitball. It's going to fall. Oh my God, amazing. I told you. What did I tell you? I'm the next Alex Jones. How did I know that? So again, if we are if we're at a place of spitballing, then dogma is not appropriate. Cheddar Steve said, I'm pro-choice. Sometimes I choose the mouth. Sometimes I choose the butt. There you go. There you go. Dilly to that. See, fun trolling is a lot more fun than, oh, your politics are stupid trolling. It works out better for everybody. Zibi said, religion is in part practical tradition and tribalism. It's a warm blankie to hide under. Some cannot separate the practical tradition.
Bingo.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Buddha. Oh, Buddha, 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 Buddha everywhere.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah.
It's incredible.
I
didn't understand about
that
was 7 years ago.
7 years ago.
Yeah, okay. So,
all right, so guys, there is about 45 minutes left of this. If you want to keep the party raging, you guys know how to do it.
No, 7 years ago, no one was thinking AI was going to take over civilization.
So you can see why the FBI decided to destroy him, which it did. The people in, I mean, it's just like what has happened to.
Yup. So, is it impossible? Is it even unlikely that Jesus Christ was just the Kanye of his day? It's not. It's not. If that could be the case, then dogma does not belong. Whenever said we have no idea if he or his disciples created the dogma. Sure, I think it. I don't know how it spun into what it is. I just know that it did. Well, I'm pretty sure. Cheddar Steve said Kanye or P. Diddy. I'm pretty sure that he was a little bit more like Kanye than P. Diddy, but I don't know. I mean, the Catholic Church is not ideal.
Decided to destroy him, which it did. The people in, I mean, it's just like what has happened to Alex Jones is proof that at least some of what he's saying is true. Because who is Alex Jones a threat to?
Did you see that in?
So Guantek says supposedly Buddha had a chance to escape the material world to true enlightenment, but realized it wouldn't be true enlightenment until all of humanity could also attain it. I could have if I wanted to, but I didn't feel like it. That's what it sounds like to me. Just saying. Because how do you know? Again, if I am somebody who's dedicated my life to finding enlightenment, why would I not think that if I'm the Buddha, that I have to escape the material world so that I lay the blueprint for the rest of humanity to attain it? None of it makes sense, guys. None of it makes sense.
interview with the guy from FBI was trying to hook up with that dude on a date.
CIA, yeah.
Was it CIA?
CIA.
That's right. And they were talking about how they can destroy a person.
Yeah, I think I was mentioned in there too.
Were you? Yeah.
I was. Yeah, I mean, there are a couple things. Okay, so yeah. Again, I don't the third dimension. I don't know anything about dimensions. Okay, so I can't comment on that. But
well, maybe if you didn't have your nose in the Bible, then you would.
Two things he said are true. One is that every civilization, every religion, the Greek myths, every single one, including Judaism, Christianity, Hinduism, has believed that there is sort of that the spirit world and humanity are like that. There's they're hybrids.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's just a fact. Genesis 6. So
all about Genesis. No idea about the dimensions, though.
Given that it has been the belief of civilizations that had no contact with each other.
I don't think it's crazy, and I also don't think it's crazy to consider it. I don't think we have a real map of reality.
I was not. So Nelson, I'll tell you one thing. Stories from a couple of days ago get distorted, and no one knows what the fuck happened. Let alone thousands of years ago. Yeah, rational thought, right? Rational thought, and then listen to what Joe is saying.
Of civilizations that had no contact with each other.
I don't think it's crazy, and I also don't think it's crazy to consider it. I don't think we have a real map of reality.
We don't have a real map of reality. I think most Christians would agree with that, no? I don't think that the belief or a commonly held Christian belief is that the Bible is an accurate and comprehensive map of reality. So let's try for that. Cheddar Steve said, Alex Jones spent 2 years in 2013 and 14 insisting that the planet Nibiru was just outside our solar system, and I don't know why this is cutting this off, and about to crash into Earth. It's weird. That is pretty weird. Franco AP, welcome to the party. Good to see you. Alex also took stock books of Abrams tanks on the trains heading for the ME and told us Obama was going to use the army to cancel the 2012 elections. Alex has been full of shit for years. Oh, he's definitely been wrong about a lot. But at the end of the day, when you call something like that, you gotta pay attention. Zippy said Buddha did lay the blueprint. He found enlightenment, but did not move on. He remained. Unlike that hippie dude that took all the pot and shrooms when he left, and the party ended. There you go. I want to post. So you don't have a way to prove what happened is your version. Oh yeah, exactly. You think you know, but you just have faith that you know, or you have faith of what it is. God needs and desires your faith, not your knowledge of his existence, which is why he didn't want Adam and Eve to eat from the tree of knowledge. Anything else is good. I don't know why God would want you to be stupid, but you'd be stupid. And then he's like, no, this bitch is telling me to eat the apple, so I'm going to eat the apple. So I'm 1 foot foe is right.
Crazy to consider it. I don't think we have a real map of reality.
Well, we definitely don't. And better put than I explained it. That's exactly right. We don't have a real map, and it's not crazy to consider it. And it was an entirely conventional view up until fairly recently. That the spirit world, don't use the phrase breeds with people, but that everyone thought that. Okay?
Right. And even the term spirit world is probably a loaded term.
Yeah, of course, they're all
whatever
loaded terms.
It is.
How do you say it in a way that doesn't sound crazy? But
that's the conversation we should be having. How do you say it in a way that doesn't sound crazy? Instead of just accepting, oh, well, you talk about this stuff and you sound crazy. That's the problem. Is nobody's will. Oh, well, this all sounds crazy. I know it sounds great. So let's focus down onto the things that don't sound crazy. And then build up from there. Well, it's reasonable that, if I felt something when I was around other people, that maybe there's a dimension of stuff going on that's outside of my brain, but and your brain, but it's connected. That's logical. No magical thinking needed. Gonsex said, there are times in this chat I'm glad that I understand that I only know that I don't know everything. Dilly to that. I said, shit, me too.
The whole thing sounds crazy because we don't acknowledge the reality, the actual physical reality of the supernatural, and it is real. That's the first thing.
Supernatural is a nonsensical term. Natural means part of nature. Supernatural means above nature. If it's real, it's natural. If it's not real, it doesn't exist. Supernatural does not make sense. Ned said Joseph Campbell was great at elucidating the metaphorical aspects of things like Adam and Eve. He was the OG Jordan Peterson in many ways. Shit's all poetry. Yeah. There's definitely good stuff in there, but can you extract what is actually useful? Definitely lots of poetry. Excuse me. We got Kelly Green in the building. Welcome to the party. Supernatural sounds super normal. That's your indoctrination. You've been hearing it all your life. So you just, supernatural. But it doesn't exist. If it exists, it's natural. If it doesn't exist, it doesn't exist. Welcome to the party.
Is we don't acknowledge the reality, the actual physical reality of the supernatural, and it is real. That's the first thing. The second point that's obviously true is that people, weak people, which is a synonym for bad people, come together for strength and safety. They act as one. The hive mind is specific to a certain group of people, bad people, and that good people don't tend to come together, but they're coming together now. And I just noticed this. I mean, people independently who I know or sort of know, in many cases have long despised, have come to exactly the same conclusions without talking to each other.
So that leads us to believe what? That some of the all of these amorphous ideas have certain themes, and so they're all correct, or that they're wrong, but they're touching on something. They're on to something.
I know that you have this experience all the time.
Yeah.
It's like, I can't believe you think that. How did you wind up thinking that?
Right.
And not just on a specific issue like foreign policy or COVID or whatever, but like on a whole bunch of different things. They're all coming to the same conclusion, and they're coming together.
Dogma.
And
how does it happen? Dogma. Believe nothing except that anything is possible. Believe nothing except that anything is possible.
So that does suggest, a big change and a battle. I mean, it is a battle between good and evil. I'm not always convinced I'm on the good side. I've been, an instrument of evil many times in my life, and I'm ashamed of it. But
are you talking about the Iraq War?
Yeah, the Iraq War. I've been cruel to people, probably even already on your show in ways that are unjustified. That's my instinct to do that. That's a fault, not.
I said shit. Me too.
Not something to brag about. It's something I'm ashamed of. So I'm not saying I'm always on the right side. I certainly have not always been on the right side. I've been on the wrong side many, many times. But that doesn't change the fact that there is good, there is evil. They are at war with each other, and we are subject to the effects of that conflict. And
which is exactly why we should learn what is exactly is going on and how to deal with all of that. So it's, it seems like they're kind of circling that same point over and over, and nothing huge, no big takeaways from this particular stream. I think sometimes it's just the general idea of seeing somebody that we trust and seeing them in a different light. Not that we haven't seen Tucker in long form, but he's been the host, and I do. I haven't really watched the Joe Rogan Experience as much since it left YouTube, but since it came back to YouTube either. And I definitely would be willing to do more of them. I don't know. It's something different about I think ever since he went to Spotify and there was no pressure to get views, then, good for Rogan, but there's not necessarily a push to get, names as much. I think he's just like, oh, I'm set. I'm just going to talk to whoever I want to talk to, which again, good for him, but not ideal for us. So I want to thank each and every one of you guys for hanging out. Big shout out to Unwanted Foe, who came in hot with a $2 super chat. And then, of course, the sponsor of the stream, Guam Tech, coming through for your boy. Shout out to all 65 of you over on Rumble. I'm live every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, X, Instagram, Kick, Rumble, wherever you are, I will be there. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, and sometimes whenever I feel like it. So hit that subscribe, follow, whatever it is. Hit all the buttons, do all this stuff. And guys, join the conversation. This is what it's here for. This is not just for me to tell you, hey, this is what I think about a thing. This is a conversation. I really, really, really enjoy the conversation and want the conversation to continue more and more and more. So make sure you are here. Please, if you are here, say something. Just say hello. And, even if you can't donate and everything, that's totally fine. Those of you who can, I very, very, very much appreciate it. Like I just said, I am headed to the Dissident Dialogues convention where there's going to be a lot of big names that hopefully I can bring them back on here to have some awesome conversations, to then get more awesome conversations with more awesome people, all of that stuff. And unfortunately, it does cost money. So shout out again to the donations and the sponsor of the stream. Shout out to the members. We are headed over to the after party. If you're not done, I'm not done. I'm trying to party. If you are not done partying, head on over to the Discord. It is free to join. It is absolutely free. Thank you, Unwanted Foe. Just drop the link there. You can just click it. It is absolutely free. If you're not familiar with Discord, it's basically just like, it's like a Facebook group, but it's completely disconnected from anything. So, in a Facebook group, Facebook could fuck with you because you're on Facebook. Discord, nope, it's just our server. I am the supreme leader, and I am all about free speech. And if you are a member of the YouTube channel, you not only get the free stuff from Discord, but you get full access. That includes extra channels, the watch party channel, and our voice channels, where we are headed right now for the exclusive after party. Thank you guys again. Really, really, really appreciate you guys. I love being here. I love doing this. I love when you guys are part of the conversation. And I really enjoyed this show tonight. So shout out to Cheddar Steve and Giggling Spy and Franco AP over on Rumble. Shout out to all you guys over here. Shout out to Facebook and everybody. Replay gang, you guys as well. Leave me a comment. Let me know when you're watching this. And if you made it to the end on the replay, man, I got to shake your hand. So say something. Thank you so very, very much, guys. Until next time, once again, he's not even there. But that was Morty, and I am your host, Lutch, a.k.a. the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Until next time, guys, we are out of here. Peace.